Chapter 121. Chiyo's Concession. Who is it? Angry shout exploded, and then a Jonin ran up the tall building. Behind him, the Sunagaku patrol team, full of chills. You dare to release a range of damaging ninjutsu in the center of the village. If I catch you, you will die. Straight Sickle's eyes were cold, and he kept scanning the bottom of the village. The whole village also seemed to be disturbed, and patrols gathered from time to time. Just as they were searching, a fire suddenly lit up in the corner of the city wall, and two young men stood there. Namikaze Minato was facing a big enemy, but Gong Yi smiled and looked relaxed. Don't look for it, here it is. Seeing Straight Sickle at a glance, the whole body is stiff. Yellow Flash, Dark Blue Devil. Enemy attack. There are no two words, the title of Konoha duo has long been started in this war. The strength of the two of them, even Rasa-sama, is no match for them. Suddenly appearing here now is a sign of an attack. The alarm bell rang piercingly, and countless ninjas came around. Faced with this scene, Gong Yi had his hands on his back, and he didn't have the slightest idea of running away or attacking. But when a Sunagaku unleashed ninjutsu on him, Gong Yi sank his face. One handle is deep, 3220. Black Long Spear appeared beside him with speed and slowness, and then stabbed it out. PFF'd. The spear went through, and that Sunagaku died there. Gong Yi said coldly, "Tell Chiyo to come out, or don't blame me for killing me." A group of patrolling ninjas looked at each other, surrounded Gong Yi and Namikaze Minato, neither daring to attack nor let go. Just when they were deadlocked, an old voice came from behind. Chiyo had a dark face, behind which was dozens of jonin who had gathered in a hurry. "You two, do you really think I'm nobody in Sunagaku?" With the arrival of Chiyo, a group of ninjas are no longer afraid of the Konoha duo in front of them. No matter what. The Konoha duo are strong, but there are Lord Chiyo and a group of jonin present. That is, using crowd tactics, they can be piled alive, and they can be piled to death. However, Gong Yi is not afraid of seeing a large number of enemies. "Chiyo, find a place where I can talk to myself, how about?" "Humph, Sunagaku, and you guys, Konoha, have nothing to talk about." Chiyo's eyes were fierce, and his once black hair had now turned white. In the last battle, she spent countless chakras to release 3 jewels suction crushing. After returning, he tried his best to rescue Rasa, who was seriously injured. All of this has made Chiyo exhausted, and now his hair is gray. Gong Yi smiled. "Maybe there are things we can talk about, such as father and mother." Hearing this, Chiyo's expression changed drastically. Others don't understand, but Chiyo knows what father and mother are. The father and mother are 2 puppets that he personally taught his grandson Sasori to make. Gong Yi suddenly said his father and mother, that is to say, he knew where his grandson was. Did Konoha caught Sasori? Chiyo took a deep breath and glanced at Namikaze Minato. "I can talk to you, but he can't come. If it's just a dark blue demon, Chiyo is not afraid, but if Yellow Flash is also with him, and the two join forces, Chiyo is really not sure." "Okay. Gong Yi, you take this." Minato handed a kunai to Gong Yi, and then stayed where he was, surrounded by a group of Sunagaku ninjas just about to move. "Tell me, what the hell do you know about the 2 puppet characters of father and mother?" On a sand tower, Chiyo stared at Gong Yi coldly, as if trying to see something from his face. Gong Yi smiled and joked, said, "Sasori of the Red Sand is in Konoha's hands, and then please lead Sunagaku to surrender. What will you do?" Bang! The sand tower shook suddenly, and countless fine sands were shattered by the chakra leaked by Chiyo, and floated down. Sunagaku impossible to surrender." "Oh." Gong Yi was a little surprised. "I don't think you are the one who would give up your grandson for Sunagaku village." Chiyo sneered, "HMPH, it sounds fake because of your words. My grandson should not have been caught by Konoha." Gong Yi touched his head, it seems that his improv performance is not very good. He spread his hands and said helplessly, "Actually, Sasori was really caught by me. But later, I let him go." "Well, I won't lie to you about this." Chiyo looked at Gong Yi in surprise. She could see that Gong Yi's words were not false. His grandson was actually caught by him. "But then, haha, should I say you're confident or stupid, and if you do catch Sasori, I might seriously consider your proposal." "Sure enough, you are a selfish person." "But..." Gong Yi took out a photo and threw it directly to Chiyo. "Now, you can think carefully about my proposal." Carefully taking the photo, Chiyo glanced at it by the moonlight. The turbid eyes were instantly hideous. "Sasori, you really did it." Gong Yi said lightly, "You should understand the hidden meaning of this photo. Sasori killed 3 generations of Kazekage and made it into a taboo-like puppet. Both of these things violated the taboo of Sunagaku ninjas. Sasori will definitely be hunted down by the village. Sasori is your grandson again, if this kind of thing comes out. Your Chiyo's reputation, status, and even life will be threatened. Don't think about it from your grandson's point of view, then at least, you should think about yourself. Oh, as for how the Sunagaku village will be affected after the photos are spread, you should be well aware, but you probably don't care much. Give you 3 minutes, think carefully, and give me an answer." The wind was blowing, bitter and cold. A woman with white hair, holding a photo of her grandson, trembling all over. "Minato, let's go." Under the moonlight, Gong Yi stepped forward, and Sunagaku gave in wherever he went. Chiyo followed behind him with a gloomy face. No. Other Sunagaku watched this scene suspiciously, but because of Chiyo's status in the village, they didn't dare to say anything. Namikaze Minato pulled Gong Yi slightly excitedly. "Let's go." Hiraishin activated, and the two disappeared in place, leaving only a shock. That's the power of Yellow Flash. It's so fast, it can come and go, even Lord Rasa can't keep him. Outside the village of Sunagaku, Namikaze Minato asked curiously. Chiyo agreed so easily. Gong Yi chuckled. "She has no way to refuse our request. This is about her life, and her grandson's life. As for the village, Gong Yi doesn't think Chiyo's selfish character will take it into consideration. At most it's just an additional consideration." Then will Rasa agree? Now in Sunagaku village, Rasa's influence has gradually caught up with Chiyo. Faced with this question, Gong Yi shrugged. "Chiyo, let Rasa agree. This kind of question should not be considered by us." ... "No, I don't agree." Rasa roared angrily and pointed to the outside, the countless Sunagaku soldiers who were insisting on the front line. "With the Golden Stream Desert as a defense, it is impossible for Konoha to break in. Why do you want us to surrender?" Chiyo said indifferently. "We have already lost this battle, and if we continue, it will not be good for anyone." "But do you know how much Konoha killed us? Subordinates. Let me tell you, 5,000. It's 5,000. After several wars, we have already killed more than 5,000 subordinates. So much hatred, you made me surrender Chiyo to Konoha, you're a fool." Bang! Chiyo slapped the table hard. "Rasa, don't forget who rescued you over and over again. Who is it that supported you in this position?" Rasa sneered. "I never forget your help to me. But I know better that you are avenging your grandson and your son and daughter-in-law. Why are you joking now that you put down your hatred?" After several battles, Rasa was defeated by Namikaze Minato, and was seriously injured by Gong Yi on the verge of death. The hatred for Konoha was deeply imprinted in his mind. Chiyo took a deep breath. She couldn't say anything about Sasori and the 3 generations of Kazekage, she just gave Rasa a handle. To get Sunagaku to surrender, he had to pay more. The village can no longer fight. After the surrender, the morale of the village plummeted, and a new Kazekage is needed to lead everyone out of the shadow of defeat. "I will contact the puppet army, as well as me and Ebizo's old subordinates, and fully recommend you as one." 6 for 4 generations of Kazekage. With your performance in this war, you are also competent enough for the 4 generations of Kazekage, and the villagers and ninjas will believe in you. Surrender means defeat, and it means giving up countless benefits. This crime requires a person to carry. I will bear the guilt that led to the defeat of the war, and I will resign as an advisor, and I will not question any of your actions in the future. The puppet troops will be handed over to you from now on. Human Jinchuriki column power and the tailed beast will also be handed over to you. After saying this, Chio lowered her head slumped. At this moment, she was really old. Twilight sighed spontaneously, and her head was full of white hair, like an old woman. Rasa was stunned, listening to Chio's expressionless words. He was completely stunned. Chio's decisions, once implemented, mean that everything he wants is in his hands. He doesn't even have to bear the responsibility of defeat, and he can control the puppet army that Chio has been holding in his hands. And that what he is trying to promote this war for. Interests, desires, power, everything, all converge into ambition. When the ambition is big enough, it will completely suppress the so-called friendship, love, family affection and unforgettable memories, the hatred. Chapter 122. Mission Progress 2100. When Gongyi saw this man whose eyes were full of ambition all the time, he was no longer on the battlefield, but at the negotiating table. Sunagakure voluntarily surrendered and offered to conclude a peace treaty. Konoha offered many conditions, and Sunagakure accepted most of them after bargaining. This peace negotiation, Chio was on the Sunagakure side to sign the treaty, and Konoha was represented by Orochimaru. In addition, the daimyo of the Land of Wind and the daimyo of the Land of Fire also sent officials to be responsible for drafting the treaty documents. After the treaty was signed, the two sides left in silence. Rasa stops Gongyi from his subordinates that Gongyi had a secret conversation with Chio a few days ago. The content of the conversation is unknown, but presumably, that is the reason why Chio let go of his hatred, made countless retreats, and was willing to surrender. I really want to know, what the hell did you say to Chio? Gongyi shook his head. You won't know, probably until you die, you won't know either. Rasa frowned and snorted coldly. Rampant little brat, if it wasn't for my wear and tear at the time, and I despised you at the same time. You can't hurt me. Hee hee. Gongyi shrugged and said sarcastically, if Chio hadn't rescued you, you wouldn't have had a chance to say this now. Goodbye, loser, future 4 generations of Kazekage. From start to finish, 4 generations of Kazekage have been a loser. His love failed, his family failed, his career failed, and his whole life was a failure. 29 Even the superior Kazekage was carried out when the village was defeated. Such a person may have threatened Gongyi in the past, but in the future, Sir Rasa, are you all right? A teenager stood beside Rasa, looking at the man worriedly. His body was shaking uncontrollably, his anger was constantly rising, and then he was madly suppressed. Rasa reluctantly glanced at the boy. It was Maggie. In this war, he performed very well, and he was willing to cultivate him. Not wanting Marky to see himself so rude, Rasa smiled reluctantly. Come on, go back to the village. However, in his heart, Rasa was roaring wildly. Gongyi, Konoha, sooner or later, I will destroy you. ... The surrender of Sunagakure and the signing of a peace treaty means that this war will come to an end. What follows will be the harvest of the victor, Konoha, and the grief of the defeated Sunagakure village. As a condition for stopping the war, the village of Sunagakure gave up many interests. The Kingdom of Wind will no longer hand over 1/3 of the tasks to Sunagakure village, but to Konoha Ninja village. In terms of resources, Sunagakure village gave up the 3 iron ore mines located on the border, and Konoha will take over it in 3 months. In addition, there is a huge war indemnity. The amount is as high as 1 billion taels. Of course, Sunagakure village can't get this money, and the Kingdom of Wind will pay for it. But this also means that Sunagakure village will no longer receive the full support of the next daimyo from the Land of Wind, and their situation will be even more difficult. Sunagakure village is miserable. Konoha was happy. Such rich conditions are enough to make up for war losses. Especially the 1/3 of the tasks handed over to Konoha by the Land of the Wind. This means that Konoha will have more tasks to accept in the future, and the conditions of the ninja will get better and better. With sufficient funds, Konoha village can also cultivate more outstanding talents. Just say it, in the Hokage world, money doesn't matter. But in fact, the liquidity of a village is no less important than a strong cage-level leader. Why is Konoha so powerful? They have built a perfect education system. There are many shinobi who graduate from the ninja school every year. Here, such as Kakashi, Uchiha Itachi, Obito, Might Guy. Even the future Konoha 12 Xiaoqiang, all came out of the ninja school. With a good basic education, they will be able to play firmly in the future. Other ninja villages are not so good. Handful of geniuses that appear every year. This is just one aspect. Ninjutsu collection, forbidden technique research, medical system, intelligence system, basic life support for ninjas, these all require money. Like Akatsuki, such a powerful organization has to worry about money. There's even a role to play. Hidan is dedicated to carrying out bounty missions and earning campaign funds for the organization. Of course, these perceptions, levels, are all too high, and only the high-level villagers will consider them. For ordinary ninjas, they only know one thing. The war is over. Peace is here. They can finally go home. Yes, go home. Wei Li, go and inform everyone, pack up, and prepare to go back to the village. Gong Yi waved his hand, and Hilly walked out excitedly. Soon, there were warm cheers from outside the tent, and there were even many happy and excited cries inside. Hearing these voices, Gong Yi walked to the door and looked at the joyful subordinates, thoughtfully. Peace. The war has stopped, but as long as the 5 major ninja villages exist at the same time for one day, how long can peace be maintained? He was sighing, but other people had already seen him, and without knowing who encouraged him, a group of people actually rushed over. In Gong Yi's astonishment, everyone lifted him up and threw him high into the sky. Long live Lord Gong Yi. Thank you, Lord Gong Yi. ... Wei Li wiped her tears and looked over there happily. Beside him, a petite and lovely girl sighed. Lord Gong Yi has been away from the front line for so long, yet everyone still respects him so much. Eri Yi touched her head. Shizune. Don't watch Lord Gong Yi leave for so long. But you must know that he taught everyone a lot of medical ninjutsu. He was on the battlefield again, standing in front of us, blocking Rasa's attack. What he has done is something we should all respect for the rest of our lives. Shizune nodded confusedly, but his fingers were still tangled. If Lord Gong Yi doesn't leave, I can follow him to learn more about ninjutsu. Not only the medical team, but the camps of other clan ninjas also gave out cheers resounding through the sky. On this day, everyone has survived. Gong Yi shook his head and walked over to Wei Li in disbelief. I haven't seen you for a few months, but everyone is still so enthusiastic. Wei Li smoothed the folds on his clothes for him, and said with a crooked smile, because of Lord Gong Yi, you are back again. And you have brought peace to everyone. Shizune stood aside, nodding and making a hum. Yes, the coming of this peace is inseparable from Gong Yi. On the way back to the village, all the ninjas were excitedly discussing the war. Some people are saddened by the death of their companions, some are looking forward to their family being greeted at the gate of the village, and some are showing off the ninja guard on their forehead, proudly saying that he has been upgraded from Chunin to Jonin. Apart from these, the biggest focus of discussion fell on Gong Yi. I heard that this peace negotiation was led by Lord Gong Yi. Hey, I heard a little news. Lord Gong Yi once joined forces with Lord Minato to enter Sunagakure village, capture Chiyo, and force her to surrender. Is this true? If the two heroes of our Konoha join forces to get in, it's really possible. Think about it, Minato-sama is invincible in speed. Lord Gongyi, it seems that he has mastered a very powerful physical technique again. The two of them joined forces, how could Chiyo, the old woman, be rivals? Don't talk nonsense. I don't know if this news is true or not, it's not good to spread it randomly. I'm not sure if the news is true or not, but Lord Gongyi and Lord Minato sneaked into Sunagakure village late at night, it must be true. How do you know it's true? A friend of my brother's captain's teacher, Shikaku-sama's liaison. At that time, it was. He passed the news of Lord Shikaku, and arranged two teams to go outside Sunagakure village to meet Lord Gongyi and Lord Minato. It's a bit complicated. Simple things, because of the cover-up, have been continuously spread, and there are various versions. But no matter. Whatever version it is, it all mentions that Gongyi facilitated this peace negotiation and ended the war. That's exactly what happened. Arriving at Konoha village 10 days later, Gongyi received cheers no less than Orochimaru and Namikaze Minato. The swarming cheers rushed into the ears, and the densely packed Konoha villagers lined up in 2 rows to welcome them at the gate of the village. Flowers were continuously sent, and all kinds of adoring and respectful eyes looked at them without hesitation. Gongyi hurriedly took a few bouquets of flowers, and Hilly, who was beside him, also helped him pick up a few bouquets with a smile. Is probably the treatment of the return of the hero. Gongyi enjoyed this feeling for a short time, but he did not indulge it for too long. Because he knew that it was still early before the end of the Third World War. An orangutan Yuhi-colored quest symbol, in his system, glowed slightly. Mission: survive the 3 wars. Mission description: survive the Third Ninja World War. Overall progress: 20 inches. Branch missions: completed the defeat of the Sunagakure arsenal behind enemy lines, completed the treatment of Nara Shikaku, completed the leader of the Konoha Medical Corps, completed the Konoha Ninja reputation point and reached the respected status. Unfinished personally ended the war against Sand. Additional completed. Evaluation: the task is not over, no evaluation. Reward: it depends on the evaluation. The minimum reward is 10,000 points and a low-level scholar skill. Today is still a violent 4D update, start at the 5th watch, let's go. To read the IP. Chapter 123. Orochimaru, let's have a drink together. Welcome home. Crowd dispersed, and the 3 generations of Hokage unfolded their inner smiles and walked to the front. He looked at the 3 people in front of him with relief. Orochimaru, his proud disciple, personally led the army and won the victory on the frontal battlefield. Namikaze Minato, a genius who fought among the civilian ninjas, participated in any dangerous mission, and even kept the opponent in check during several wars, the top master of the gang. Gongyi, who rebuilt the medical force on the battlefield, made great contributions several times, and finally ended the war. Each of them is the future of Konoha, and he is a strong man who has grown up. The 3 generations of Laowai are pleased, you are all the pride of the village. Namikaze Minato is a sentimental man, and he couldn't help but be moved at this moment. Everything is thanks to Hokage-sama's support. No, all of this is due to your hard work. Sandai shook his head, then turned around and looked at the surrounding villagers. You said, don't you? Crowd was slightly silent. But then, there were shouts like a tsunami of mountains and tsunamis. Namikaze Minato. Namikaze Minato. In between, the names of Gongyi and Orochimaru were constantly being called. A war made Orochimaru's reputation disdain the whole village, and Namikaze Minato, Gongyi, had the same name as Sanin during World War II, Konoha duo. This is the beautiful fruit of the brutal war. Hero is born. Sarutobi Asuma watched all this with envy. He was injured when he just joined the war, so he quit the war early. Instead, he was transferred to another team and went to the village of Iwagakure to perform a security mission. Although the mission process is also dangerous, and even was promoted to Chunin, but compared with the magnificent ninja village war, it is too bland. Asuma squeezed his hands tightly, and his eyes fell on the third Hokage. If I wasn't Hokage's son, but an ordinary ninja, maybe I wouldn't have these special treatment. Uchiha Obito also looked at Gong Yi enviously. Obviously they are the same age. Why is Gong Yi just can accept the worship of the villagers with his teacher Minato, and the praise of Lord Hokage? He squeezed his side indifferently the boy's arm. Kakashi, don't you envy Gong Yi? Quote. Kakashi glanced at him. No envy. Uchiha Obito was puzzled, but Nohara Rin, who was next to him, covered his mouth and smiled. Kakashi performed the task well. I heard that the teacher is going to help him apply for the Jonin assessment. He will definitely not be envious. Obito opened his mouth wide. He was just a genin. Kakashi, is he going to become a Jonin? Hatake Kakashi looked at that side quietly, but he kept recalling his father's appearance in his mind. When my father came back from the battlefield, did he also experience the praise and cheers of countless villagers? Kurenai Yuhi and Azuki Yugao stood behind the troops, who also joined the battlefield at the end of the war. Do some less dangerous tailgating. Looking at the crowd, the dazzling Gong Yi, Kurenai Yuhi suddenly sighed. Yugao, you said, we are at odds. The distance between Gong Yi is getting farther and farther. Azuki Yugao was silent, then nodded. Go. Kurenai Yuhi shook his head in distress. Ah. I also want to be strong and stand by Gong Yi's side. Azuki Yugao lowered his head and said nothing. Maybe I should follow in my father Gong Yi-kun's footsteps. Wow, the captain is so handsome. This is a real man. Might Guy jumped up and down in the crowd excitedly. Sooner or later, I can become such a man. Qianzong, do you think so? Hyuga Qianzong showed a rare smile, and he couldn't help shaking his head for his enthusiastic teammate. Guy, everyone's destiny is predetermined. With the captain, he is that dazzling sun and moon, we are just. No, Qianzong, I don't agree with this sentence. Gong Yi, like me, is a ninja. He can do it, why can't I? As long as I do 30 workouts a day, I'll be able to. As if that's not enough, then add 20 more. 50 workouts, I'll definitely be able to be the captain like that man. Might Guy smiled confidently, the huge Kiba teeth flashed a white light. He suddenly looked at the crowd, and waved his hand with great joy. Father. In the crowd, a middle-aged man wearing a green tights and combing watermelon hair suddenly gave a thumbs up. Guy, you are the best. ... Thousands of ninja troops cannot stay at the gate of the village all the time. After a grand welcome ceremony, they all dispersed. The speed of dispersal is faster than expected. Because every ninja can't wait to go home and reunite with relatives and friends. At this time, never again, have a meal together, a steaming reunion dinner, something more refreshing. Even Namikaze Minato, Nara Shikaku, they couldn't help but want to leave the army and find their girlfriends. But there are exceptions. Orochimaru, whose parents died young, was alone. Gong Yi, war orphan. Two smiled at each other, and Orochimaru suggested, let's have a drink together. Gong Yi shook his head, I'm not yet an adult. No, you don't look like a teenager. How about going to my house? No one cares about you drinking. Facing Orochimaru's uncharacteristic enthusiasm, Gong Yi raised an eyebrow. At this time, you should go to Jiraiya-sama or Tsunade, sensei. Orochimaru chuckled, I have nothing in common with them. Oh, is that so? Gong Yi nodded lightly, okay, let's go. I'm also worried about no one to chat with. Yeah, when the whole village and even the whole country celebrates, the two of us are regarded as heroes, but we don't even have the opportunity to find someone to share. Among the people who had dispersed, Gong Yi and Orochimaru were quite disappointed. Jiraiya rushed to the gate excitedly, but she didn't see her friend, so she scratched her head in distress. His eyes lit up and he shook the 2 bottles of wine in his hand. Go find him at Orochimaru's house. Quiet, even a little gloomy mansion. Gong Yi looked at the surrounding arrangement curiously. No matter what. In the original book, or in the world of Hokage, this was the first time he saw Orochimaru's home in Konoha. He once visited Tsunade in the Senju clan, which is very big, very ancient, and has a rich and powerful heritage. He had seen the family land of the Hyuga family from a distance, graceful and luxurious, with a hint of precipitation. Even the home of Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen, he had seen before. Well, those are the ones. Compared to Orochimaru, one of the Sannin, his home is too austere. Except the basic chairs and benches, the rest are books. Except books, they are still books. The dense bookshelves are placed from other rooms to the living room. A bottle of wine was placed on Gong Yi's face. Before, Orochimaru pointed to the books around him. Very interested. Gong Yi laughed. It's really interesting. Dissatisfied with Orochimaru-sama, when I was at the ninja school, I read all the books in the school library without falling. Orochimaru nodded. Sure enough, you and I have a common language. Like Tsunade and Jiraiya, never like to read books. They all like liveliness and crowds, and I only like reading quietly by myself. And doing research. Taking the wine glass that Orochimaru handed over, Gong Yi gave a slight pause. Following his words, he continued. What kind of research support? Orochimaru sipped his sake and narrowed his eyes slightly. Research on ninjutsu. Gong Yi, are you interested? Chapter 124. Completely Crazy, Chapter 3. The wind chimes. Jiraiya scratched her head and looked at Orochimaru's mansion in confusion. Where did this guy go when he's not at home? Teacher, Tsunade can't even do it. Jiraiya shook the jug in his hand and said depressedly, I still want to have a drink with your kid, but when I came back from the battlefield, no one was there. Turning to leave, he did not see the 2 wine glasses in the room, on the table. Maybe from the beginning, he and Orochimaru were not the same. And Gong Yi, at the moment, is walking on the same road as Orochimaru. The road is very dark, and damp. Until the end, it suddenly becomes clear, and the scenery you see is shocking. A prison made of steel, in which a group of ninjas stretched and howled. 555 huge experimental benches are covered with basic experimental equipment and special medicines. On the side of the test bench, there are several small rooms. Corner of your eye, you can probably see a special shelf. On each shelf, there were comatose ninjas tied up, as if they had undergone some kind of experiment before. Orochimaru squinted slightly, and instead of looking at every grass, tree, sand and stone in his laboratory, he stared at Gong Yi. To see something from his first reaction when he saw 320 feet's own laboratory, his first expression. However, the result surprised him. Gong Yi was so calm and seemed not to be curious or shocked by anything. As expected of the person I like, you are not shocked by all this. Is it because your emotions are too restrained or you already guessed it? Gong Yi turned his head and said, Lord Orochimaru, do you think that a boy under the age of 11, with his ability to restrain his emotions, will be able to see all this and turn a blind eye? Orochimaru showed that look as expected, and then looked at Gong Yi with interest. When did you start to doubt? Gong Yi said lightly, I am the head of the medical unit on the battlefield. I will also be there when the battlefield is counted, so I can help the surviving Konoha ninjas at any time. On the battlefield, it is normal to have fewer wounded. But every time there are fewer casualties, there are traces of snakes crawling over, which makes people suspicious. And the one who can control snakes and accurately find the dead ninjas can do this. On the battlefield at that time, there should be only Lord Orochimaru, you are the only one. Listen to this careful and very logical guess. Orochimaru laughed. Hee, It seems that my decision to push you to the head of the medical corps is exposing myself instead. No. Gong Yi shook his head, but turned to Orochimaru and bowed slightly. I am very grateful for your promotion at that time. It is because of your promotion that I can enjoy so much cheers and respect in Konoha village today. Orochimaru was slightly silent. He was not very seen. Turning around, he looked at his laboratory that had been built for many years. Although it is only one of many laboratories, it is undoubtedly his first step towards Konoha. With a hoarse throat, Orochimaru asked softly, "Do you know why I liked you?" "My medical ninjutsu." "Oh, very clever, that's really the most important reason." Gong Yi asked curiously, "There are other reasons?" Orochimaru seems to be remembering something. "The time is not far away, it seems to be yesterday. The first time I saw you, I asked you a question. Your answer is still fresh in my memory." Gong Yi frowned slightly, and with his strong mental power, he quickly recalled it. At that time, Orochimaru should have been told by 3 generations to let him see if he is suitable to be his apprentice. Orochimaru did not accept him in the end, but asked an interesting question. Cultivating hard, becoming stronger with one heart, and finally what is Gong Yi's answer? To control his own destiny. Orochimaru stretched out his right hand and looked at the palm lines above. I like ninjutsu, I am obsessed with ninjutsu, the mighty power that can change the world. There are so many mysteries in this ninja world that I can't finish my research in my whole life. So I want to pursue longevity, I want to study more ninjutsu, to explore the ultimate mystery of this world. This is probably the reason why Orochimaru pursued to become stronger in the early stage, but suddenly changed his style and became obsessed with research in the later stage. Gong Yi thought deeply. Orochimaru suddenly stopped and pointed to the huge laboratory. Don't you have any questions you want to ask me? For example, research topics are the advanced ninjutsu of my master. Of course, if you have questions that you don't understand, I can also choose to answer you. Gong Yi fell into silence. The silent laboratory door, the underground passage behind him, came the tick of water droplets. He took a deep breath and asked a very sharp question. If I see this scene, I will not choose to cooperate with you, but will report you to the village. You want to ask how I would deal with you in this situation? Orochimaru took over. Gong Yi shook his head. No, I'm just saying, this possibility definitely exists. And you should definitely think about it. But why did you choose to let me into this laboratory? Orochimaru laughed. People who can ask such questions are usually not too stupid, but very smart. There was once a person who asked a similar question. Who? The name won't tell you, it's a high-ranking person anyway. Orochimaru licked his tongue, and the answer I told him will also be the answer I will give you next. It's actually very simple. I don't care about your reactions, I care more about having what I need in you. Even if you don't choose to cooperate with me now, run out and tell other people. For me, the big deal is leave the village. I have nothing to lose, and I have no attachment to the village. Gong Yi suddenly understood. Orochimaru acts very strangely. In the original book, he once cooperated with Danzo. Danzo's status, strength, and power at that time were definitely higher than Orochimaru. But Orochimaru still lives peacefully with the other party, because Danzo has the resources he wants. Orochimaru also used Kabuto as his deputy. But in fact, he also knows that Kabuto is a double agent with Sasori's shadow behind him. But Orochimaru doesn't care, just because Kabuto's medical ninjutsu can help him. Orochimaru has reached a cooperation with Sasuke to help Sasuke improve his strength, even if Sasuke has the possibility of backlash against himself. But he wasn't afraid, because of Sasuke's body. In all respects, Orochimaru is a complete lunatic. He never cares about risks, he only cares about the resources he wants. As long as you help him achieve his goal, even if it is to join Akatsuki and be used by Pain, he is willing. This kind of person, dealing with him, is dangerous. Very dangerous, but very safe. As long as you have room to be valuable to him, he will never deal with you. Gong Yi understands this. The whole person is relieved. What he has now is undoubtedly what Orochimaru desperately needs. And what the master holds in Orochimaru's hands is what Gong Yi desires. The question has been answered. Now it's my turn to ask you. Orochimaru licked his lips. Gong Yi, would you like to cooperate with me? Gong Yi chuckled, honored. Chapter 125. Arrangement. Cooperation intention is reached, then many things need not be said more. Orochimaru is not in a hurry to start researching today, he has just returned, and the 3 generations will definitely find him in the past 2 days. The same is true for Gong Yi. He needs to go home and organize some things, he has to prepare. The two passed through the tunnel and slowly returned to Orochimaru's house. However, it is considered to have fought side by side, and finished drinking this bar. Gong Yi nodded and drank the wine without any discomfort. Orochimaru is in a really good mood today, and even smiles a lot more than usual. Sure enough, you don't look like a young man at all. Of your age or too naive, but you act like an adult. His judgment was actually quite accurate. Gong Yi itself has the soul of an adult, and the way of thinking is the same as that of an adult, with a complete world outlook, values, and outlook on life. After drinking, Orochimaru sent Gong Yi to the door. Suddenly, he stuck out his tongue and licked the void. It's Jiraiya. This guy never walks through the main entrance, so he probably came in through the wall again. Gong Yi asked curiously, you and Tsunade, sensei, Jiraiya-sama, were teammates who fought side by side, why you haven't been close to them? Tsunade is too cowardly, Jiraiya has an ambition but is lazy. In them that interested me in the slightest. Orochimaru said lightly, and didn't care to tell Gong Yi this. Gong Yi is generally clear, but has some regrets. Master Jiraiya once said that I could learn a ninjutsu from him, but I'm afraid I won't have a chance in the future. Orochimaru turned around and pointed to his room of books. If you have time, you can read as much as you want. Although only some basic ninjutsu knowledge is collected here, but if you accumulate enough, you can also create your own ninjutsu. Well, it's the one that suits you best. Then thank you Orochimaru-sama. Gong Yi accepted this gift very happily, and it was a good start for cooperation. Sitting in the quiet secret room, Gong Yi recalled the contact with Orochimaru today. After confirming that it was correct, I was relieved. Although I feel that everything has been performed perfectly, it is no exaggeration to be cautious when dealing with a crazy scientific research maniac like Orochimaru. Even Kabuto's multifaceted spy, who has followed Orochimaru for several years, still has to be careful with Orochimaru. Gong Yi doesn't think that the current self is much stronger than the future Kabuto in his ability to conceal himself. Kabuto has kept a low profile and has become one of the masterminds behind the ninja war. After reflection, Gong Yi fell into trouble again. Next, it seems that my time is not enough to allocate. The daily routine exercise must not be left behind. This is the accumulation of strength, and only when the accumulation is enough can it produce qualitative changes. He doesn't have a sage body, a fairy eye, and can reach the sky in one step. Beyond that, there are 3 important things at hand. The study of seal art, Kekkei Genkei's research topic, and ninjutsu knowledge acquisition. As for other research topics in the system, to be honest, Gong Yi has given up some temporarily. Unlike tasks, research topics do not have time, so there is no need to rush. Some research problems that seem difficult now may be easily solved when his strength increases. Kekkei Genkei's research must never be stopped. This matter is related to a qualitative change in my strength. Gong Yi can see clearly that the 8 gates are big, especially if he has the rejuvenation technique. He is even stronger than the future might guy. But this thing does not mean that a complete master can become a master. What he needs is the accumulation of time and the complete growth of physical attributes. Even Might Guy, with such a crazy accumulation of training, did his best to open the last door during the Fourth Ninja World War. But before that, Kai's combat power could only barely reach cage level. When killing a ghost shark, you must open the 7 gates. Gong Yi is now able to use the first 6 gates proficiently, but the 7th gate will take at least 5 years to be opened and mastered. That's actually pretty fast. 5 years later, he's just coming of age. Little Lee was his age, he could barely even open the 6th door. Might Guy isn't much better either. Once master Kekkei Genkai, my strength will rise to a new level in an instant, at least not weaker than Kimamaro's level. Coupled with the 8 inner gates, as well as various advanced ninjutsu assistants, I have no fear in the face of any shadow. Gong Yi saw it very clearly, he knew deeply what he really needed. Kekkei Genkai, you can't just rely on the magic that Sasori of the Red Sand gave me. As Orochimaru said, I can create my own ninjutsu with a lot of basic ninjutsu knowledge from the master. The rock armor was created by me in the early days, although it is only a level. Now I have a lot of Kaiden fire style ninjutsu from Uchiha, as well as the basic knowledge of ninjutsu from Orochimaru. If I research it thoroughly, I can keep experimenting with new ninjutsu and even promote my Kekkei Genkai research. Just an instant, Gong Yi made a decision. Kekkei Genkai and ninjutsu master, both hands must be grasped, and both hands must be hard. As for sealing, Gong Yi will not directly abandon it. He knows the power of sealing. He can seal objects, strong men, tailed beasts, people from impure world reincarnation, and even the future Otsutsuki Kagaya. He will never give up sealing. However, this thing is not to say that you can learn it by learning. When Kakashi arrived at the beginning of Hayate's biography, he also mastered the simplest seal of sealing evil. It can be seen that the sealing technique requires a certain amount of time and is slowly cultivated. Okay, that's it. The morning, I will do regular exercise and learn about ninjutsu. In the afternoon, I will start the research of Kekkei Genkai. Every night, I will spend some time and learn the seal art before practicing magic. Perfect timing. The only thing to watch out for is and Orochimaru's research. This point, if you need to give up, you can only give up the study of sealing art first. While Gong Yi was resting at home, the post-war Konoha village also began to show a busy scene. With so many war yugili, rich funds, a few iron ore, and especially a lot of tasks cut out by the land of wind. It would be embarrassing if there were not enough manpower. After this battle, with the momentum of Konoha's subduing Sunagakur, Konoha Ninja Village gradually has a stronger atmosphere. Other villages also know that even if Konoha White Fang committed suicide, the 3 generations of Hokage began to decline, but Konoha is still strong. Generation, there is Sanin who came from World War II, as the mainstay Jinchuriki column. And the new generation, there are the 2 heroes of Konoha. It can be said that the powerhouses of Konoha village have never been interrupted. Some forces that are just around the corner have to suppress their ambitions for the time being. It's not the time yet. Konoha naturally understands this truth. Since there are strong signs and the momentum of victory, it is a good time to cultivate talents. To say, the ninja school will soon have a new batch of graduates, who will be assigned to each Chunin and Jonin to go out to perform tasks. This time, the 3 generations of Hokage did not speak, and he gave the opportunity to Orochimaru. You know, speaking to the students graduating from the ninja school every year is a great opportunity to win over the hearts of Konoha's new generation of ninjas. It can be seen that the 3 generations of Hokage are really determined and want to push Orochimaru to the position of Hokage. And Orochimaru really has this qualification. With outstanding strength, he has more leadership ability than Tsunade and Jiraiya. On the surface, he is also the same as Sarutobi Hiruzen. He is good at countless ninjutsu and can teach the next generation of ninjas. This time, he personally led the army and defeated Sunagakur. If he was the top Hokage, no one would be able to refute him. Even the ambitious Danzo can only sigh inwardly, it's not the time to perform on his own. When Orochimaru came back from the ninja school to speak, when Gongyi went out again, he was surprised to find out Orochimaru has one more disciple. And he, God, has one less disciple. Chapter 126. Primary Cells. Lord Gongyi, what are you mad at? Gongyi looked at the girl squatting in front of him depressedly, and couldn't help rubbing her head. I rarely trained two medical ninjas, ready to be my disciples. But one of them was taken away by my teacher. What Gongyi said is actually not complicated. When he was on the front line, he recruited two talented female ninjas to teach medical ninjutsu. Aburame Kaiwei and Shizune. After the war ended, after returning to the village, when the two girls were resting, they simply went to the Konoha hospital to help. They also got along very well with Sakurai Ariki, and when they went there were enough patients to familiarize them with the master's medical ninjutsu. However, Shizune somehow got noticed by Tsunade, who was passing by. Even saying hello to Gongyi, Tsunade took Shizune as his apprentice. You know, although Gongyi is usually Tsunade teacher is very affectionate. But in fact, Tsunade never admitted that Gongyi was his disciple, even 3220. The psychic beast slug did not let Gongyi sign a contract. But Shizune is different. This is a veritable apprenticeship. Even when Gongyi went to the hospital, he saw Shizune channeling a small slug. Well, it's very small. It can only treat very small wounds. Small slugs. Shizune said so. Tsunade-sensei saw that Kaiwei had bugs, and felt that his disciple couldn't live without psychic beasts. Just let me sign the contract. Gongyi was really dumbfounded at the time. Tsunade, why are you competing with yourself? If you rob Shizune, you have to give her a psychic beast, just to prevent Shizune from being compared by his own disciple, Aburame Kaiwei. But it is limited to crying and laughing. Gongyi is really not very angry. He could see that this matter should have something to do with the 3 generations of Hokage. Over the years, the 3rd generation of Hokage has been urging his 3rd disciples to accept apprentices. Jiraiya is more obedient and cultivated Namikaze Minato early. Namikaze Minato is also very promising, making Jiraiya a lot easier, anyway. Whatever, with Minato's gentle temper, Jiraiya entrusts him, and Minato will not refuse. This is probably why Jiraiya is always very leisurely in the village. Tsunade and Orochimaru were disobedient, and for so many years, they were alone. Before asking them to accept Gongyi, the two also pushed the 3 and blocked the 4, for fear of trouble. Tsunade would rather teach Gongyi medical ninjutsu than be a teacher. But this time, it was probably the 3rd generation of Hokage who gave the death order. Tsunade and Orochimaru, too, can only hold their noses to collect people. Tsunade was greedy for cheap and was too lazy to find people. He heard that Gongyi's 2 apprentices were very talented, so he simply dug up Shizune. Orochimaru didn't really care about the order of the 3rd generation, but when he gave his graduation speech at the ninja school, he found Mitarashi Anko and was a little bit moved. So now, squatting in front of Gongyi, the cute girl in front of me is Orochimaru's disciple, Mitarashi Anko. Rubbing Anko's head in love, Gongyi exhorted, Anko. If someone comes to kidnap you to become a disciple in the future, you must refuse him sternly. And you will take out the name of your teacher, Orochimaru, to scare the opposite party to death. Anko blinked his eyes. Then Lord Gongyi, your disciple was robbed. Is it because of your name that you are not as loud as Tsunade-sama? Hey, you little girl, why are you talking so much? The Konoha duo, known as the existence of the Dark Blue Devil. The name is ringing. Gongyi said angrily, and was actually despised by the little girl who left the school. Anko turned his head and avoided Gongyi's hand. Is that so, Mr. Gongyi, who is so famous, won't he give Anko a meeting gift? Gongyi grinned, this little girl is a bit smart. No wonder Orochimaru took a fancy to her, just a few words and she wanted benefits. Gong Yi scooped up his body and took out a gadget. Hey, here it is, see if you like it, that's all I have on me. Anko took it curiously, and found that it was a small butterfly in yuhi color, like a hairpin. Is there a girl's stuff on Mr. Gong Yi? Gong Yi put his hand on Anko's head again. He felt that this little girl's hair was really comfortable to the touch, it was terribly soft. Like playing with a cat. This time Anko didn't hide, probably because he was short-handed, so embarrassed to hide. Gong Yi rubbed his head while squinting and said, "This is not a card, this is a puppet. You put chakra in it and try to control. Puppet." Anko looked at the little butterfly in surprise, and chakra injected into it. The yuhi-colored butterfly flew wobbly, and flapped its wings twice. Anko's mind moved, chakra controlled the butterfly to fly to the left, and it really moved. Gong Yi watched this scene with satisfaction. This is the product of his experiment after researching the way Sasori left to others to make puppets. Now I can't use people as puppets, but using animals instead, there is no problem. Butterflies, toads, snakes, grasshoppers, etc. Gong Yi made dozens of small animal puppets in one go and spread them all over the palace area. Forms a surveillance network, and if someone breaks in, he can instantly find out. After all, Gong Yi's current spiritual insight range is only 500 meters. The area of the palace collar is as high as 100 miles in radius, which is about 5 kilometers. Only puppet technique can help Gong Yi solve this problem. As for another secret technique left by Sasori, Gong Yi is still there, while groping, and vaguely have some experience. Just as Anko was excitedly manipulating the butterfly, Orochimaru came out of the house with a few books in his hand. Seeing Orochimaru coming out, Anko stood up obediently, but with a small butterfly in his hand, he was a little unsure of where to put it. You can put it on your hair and use it as a hairpin. Gong Yi clapped his hands, stood up, and said to Anko with a smile. Anko tried wearing it, and it worked. This butterfly puppet is interesting. Orochimaru glanced at it, not interested, and handed the books to Anko. Take it back and see, I will test you in 3 days. Oh. Anko took it carefully, she was still a little afraid of the cold Orochimaru, but it was Gong Yi, she liked to be in contact with him. After Anko left, Gong Yi put away his smile and was no longer as cynical as before. Orochimaru didn't say much, and walked straight into the house. Tick-tick through the familiar passage, the two came to Orochimaru's laboratory again. I need to do something. It's very simple. You treat the 3 Sunagaku ninjas first. They are very important experimental subjects. They can't die yet. I have to follow up on their physical conditions. Gong Yi hummed and entered the prison. Facing the 3 pale, shivering ninjas, Gong Yi frowned. But he didn't say anything, and started medical ninjutsu directly. 10 minutes later, Gong Yi easily walked out of the prison. 1-6 out. Orochimaru looked at the 3 and nodded in satisfaction. I have to say that your current medical ninjutsu has surpassed Tsunade. Gong Yi shrugged, there is still a difference. Master Tsunade has the bloodline of the Senju family, and her healing ability is unparalleled in the world. When Orochimaru heard this, he fell silent. Then he opened a sealed door, and walked in. Gong Yi followed closely, but when he saw a ninja inside, he showed a surprised expression. Surprisingly. Orochimaru turned to look at him. Gong Yi nodded and admitted, yes, it's really surprising. Are trees growing on people? I don't think it's surprising that no one has seen this scene. Quote. Orochimaru pointed to the experimental subject. Perhaps from this experimental subject, you can get a glimpse of the mystery of the Senju family's healing power possessed by Tsunade. Gong Yi took a deep breath. Orochimaru's research, has it come to this stage? The first generation cell. To read the IP. Chapter 127. Walk with a lunatic. Maybe, just maybe. The healing power possessed by Tsunade's body is common among the Senju clan. Of this family are extremely powerful, and their chakra content is also different from ordinary people. However, Senju Hashirama is a special case. Beginning to the end, among the Senju clan, only Hashirama has mastered Mokuden wood style. Even Senju Tobarama, whose talent is several times better than him, cannot learn Mokuden wood style. This is also the case. While the ninja world is rumored that Mokuden wood style is powerful, there are countless people who want to have a glimpse of the mystery of Mokuden wood style. Including the high-level Konoha. You can roughly guess where he got the Hashirama cells from. Danzo. Orochimaru said before that there was a person who asked the same question as himself, and finally chose to cooperate with Orochimaru. That person, 9 times out of 10, is Danzo. Only Danzo has a chance to retain Hashirama cells. However, Danzo's research ability is not strong, so he chose to hand it over to Orochimaru, and the two shared the research results. U29 first check the situation of this person. It seems that he is not good. Hearing Orochimaru's words, Gongyi nodded slightly, concentrated his mind, and placed his hand on the experimental subject. The gentle chakra was precisely controlled and flowed all over the body. But just for a moment, Gongyi frowned. Seeing this, Orochimaru asked curiously, "What did you find?" Gongyi shook his head. "I still need to take a look, mind if I dissect him?" Orochimaru waved his sleeves, "Whatever. Other words, even if the dissection is broken, it doesn't matter. This means that this experimental subject is not very important, or Orochimaru still has a large number of experimental subjects in his hands." From the chakra light, the sharp tips formed on the fingertips, and his chakra scalpel became more and more exquisite. The chakra scalpel gently slid across the subject's skin, creating a deep wound on the blood vessel on the hand. The bones are clearly visible. If a normal ninja encounters such an injury, he will basically lose his combat effectiveness. But an astonishing scene emerged. The wound was recovering extremely quickly, and even the blood flowing quickly stopped. Gongyi's brows became even tighter, and the movements of his hands became much quicker. Thighs, lower abdomen, double ribs, until reaching the throat, he stopped. Putting his hands away, Gongyi took a deep breath. The healing power of this person is incredible. Orochimaru is not surprising, he has this feature before. He even hoped that Gongyi would have other discoveries. Gongyi pointed to those cut by him, and said word by word, "But there is a problem, his healing ability is extremely strong, but it is not supported by the strong activity of cells. Instead, overbraid cell activity is used to achieve this effect. In him, there are 2 kinds of cells cut to 1. One of the cells, the level is too high, forms a powerful phagocytic force. These wounds, although recovered, but you can see it. Nearby flesh and bone, basically have varying degrees of atrophy. This means that his body cell is being engulfed by another type of cell, giving birth. And that kind of powerful cells also have no ability to regenerate, so this is what caused this." Orochimaru's eyes lit up. He didn't expect that it was only his first autopsy that Gongyi would discover the results that he obtained after several studies. "It seems that I am looking for Gongyi as a partner. This step is indeed the right one." Orochimaru licked his lips. "In your opinion, how can we solve this problem?" "Rescue this experimental body. It's very simple. I will perform an operation to remove all the foreign cells in his body." Gongyi has this confidence, and his medical ninjutsu, aided by his superb chakra control, can totally do it. But Orochimaru waved his hand. "No, I don't care about his death. I'm asking, do you have a way to solve the problem of the terrifying phagocytic power of powerful cells and the inability to regenerate on their own?" Gongyi was silent. Orochimaru was not in a hurry, let him think. Or rather, Orochimaru didn't hold out much hope that Gongyi would be able to do it right away. Give the answer. However, Gongyi immediately gave three answers in the next moment. First, if you can develop an agent that inhibits this cell, you can solve his phagocytosis. Second, if a small amount of these cells are ingested at a low frequency, they will be fused with special ninjutsu or secret techniques. It may take a long time to fuse it, or even regenerate on its own. Orochimaru said in amazement, "How long is this time?" Gongyi gave an inaccurate answer, "At least 5 years, long. Maybe more than 10 years. Orochimaru is a little disappointed, did it take so long? Third, you can talk about it. Gongyi said softly, if someone's body, cell characteristics, can be stronger than this type of cell, then he can completely suppress his phagocytic ability. Even antiphagocytosis of this cell, retaining its cellular identity. Orochimaru was stunned for a moment, but soon shook his head helplessly. The third point is completely impossible. Oh, why is Orochimaru-sama so sure? Gongyi pretended to be puzzled and asked, in fact, he knew better than anyone why it was impossible. Because this is the first Hokage, Senju Hashirama's cells. Orochimaru said with regret. It was a powerful existence that joined forces with Uchiha Madara to suppress the ninja world, and even defeated Uchiha Madara head-on. If you want to cultivate your body to his level, no, according to what you mean, he is stronger than him. This is simply impossible. Even if it is possible, this process will take longer than the second method you mentioned. Gongyi narrowed his eyes slightly, suppress the ninja world and defeat Uchiha Madara. You are talking about the first generation of Konoha Hokage, Senju Hashirama. 320 Shiwan tilted his head and asked with great interest, why, when you hear this answer, not only are you not panicking, but why does it make me feel that you are still very excited? Ha ha. Gongyi laughed loudly, to have the opportunity to study the cells of Shodai, first Sama. I think in the entire ninja world, few people will not be excited. Orochimaru also laughed, he became more and more admiring Gongyi. Even, he was a little excited. If I had accepted you as my disciple, that would have been fine. Gongyi blinked, if Orochimaru really wanted to accept him back then, he would not refuse. Just now we're working together, isn't it good? Haha, it's good. Orochimaru smiled freely, if I had accepted you back then, you would just be chasing my path behind me. But now, you have already walked your own path, and it is better for both of us to learn from each other's strengths and complement our weaknesses. Two looked at each other and smiled, feeling quite harmonious. However, beside them, there is a gloomy laboratory, a prison where pain screams endlessly, countless experimental subjects, with terrifying wounds. Gongyi thinks Orochimaru is a lunatic. He walks with lunatics, but he is not a lunatic. Recommend a book to friends. Also Hokage God Uchiha. Wrote Sengoku Hokage, 2 million words. If you are interested, you can go and read it. I have read it, not bad. Chapter 128. Failure. Are many lunatics in this world? In other words, any world has never lacked lunatics. The difference is that some people will hide, and some people will always show their crazy side. Just 3 months after the truce between Sunagakure and Konoha, the whole ninja world is still there. When the reputation of the two heroes of Konoha was rumored, there was a man who killed all his classmates during the graduation exam. Bloody, spread throughout the village of Kurigakure. Even in the graduation exam in the village of Kurigakure, where students are encouraged to kill each other, he went too far this time. Since then, the village of Kurigakure has directly reformed the way of graduation assessment. However, Zaibujian did not receive any punishment for this, but was recruited into Anbu by the third generation of Mizukage. However, this move also aroused a lot of criticism in the village of Kurigakure. Mizukage is even more discussed by the villagers. Under such circumstances, the village of Iwagakure, which had been eager to join the war, had to cover up the ambition that had to be concealed because of the quick defeat of Sunagakure by Konoha, and broke out again. The interior of Kurigakure is unstable, and the village of Iwagakure, which has hated them for generations, will definitely not miss this opportunity. Moreover, the village of Kurigakure is relatively weak, and the village of Iwagakure, which is already strong to a certain extent, urgently needs a war to stand up. Announced to the world that Iwagakure village is already a strong ninja village, not even weaker than Konoha who won Sunagakure. Without much to say, Iwagakure village began to engage in small-scale friction with Kurigakure village, in order to form a big war. The casus belli used is also very tenable. During World War II, it was the second-generation Mizukage of Kurigakure village who killed our second-generation Tsuchikage. Take revenge for the second-generation Tsuchikage, Sama. The shadow of war, once again, floated into the sky of the ninja world. In the silent secret room, Gongyi spread his hands, each with a mass of chakra lingering on it. The left hand is mixed with the nature of earth, and the right hand is mixed with the nature of fire. He carefully fused the two groups of chakras together, staring intently, for fear of making the slightest mistake. This kind of action, in the eyes of outsiders, will think that Gongyi is crazy. Even chakras from the same person cannot be mixed because of their different natures. Because once mixed, it is very easy to cause chakra to get out of control. Gongyi's muscles were tense, and he was staring at his hands intently. The two chakras of the nature of fire and earth began to slowly blend. No runaway, no explosions. Sure enough, Sasori's secret art can help me touch the edge of Kekkei Genkai. Gongyi was overjoyed. He had wondered why Xie Neng used the chakra in front of the puppet, and even used Kekkei Genkai. After getting the secret of rest, many problems were solved instantly. The reasons are complex, yet simple. Xie has developed a set of secret techniques that can simulate the spiritual power of others and integrate chakra. As long as he obtains the corpse of the ninja, even if the ninja is dead, he can simulate the corresponding spiritual energy. And according to the chakra extraction route of the deceased, a similar chakra is simulated. Kekkei Genkai is much more difficult, because it involves the fusion of two chakras. So even if Xie became stronger later, he didn't try to kill other blood Matsuri powerhouses. Because with his strength, he can only control a bloody puppet. After Gongyi got this set of secrets, he did not go the route of imitating others. He changed his way. Participate yourself into two kinds of investigations of nature, imaginatively simulate one, and try to fuse them. More than half a year to get to where I am today. It has failed countless times, and the hands are out of control for chakra fusion, and the whole body is bruised and bruised. Thanks to the rejuvenation technique, he was able to continue this work. No wonder some possess medical ninjutsu to heal. Gongyi looked at a new type of chakra that had merged most of the time, and was gradually blooming with two colors different from earth and fire, with a look of anticipation. It's just a little bit. As long as the fusion is successful, I can master Kekkei Genkai and develop the corresponding blood Ji ninjutsu. However, when he was looking forward to it, the group of chakras gradually changed. Like a bright golden light, it trembled and separated, turning into deep yellow and fiery yuhi again. Bang! With an explosion, Gongyi's face changed greatly. Failed again. The rejuvenation technique began to be released on the wounded hands, and Gongyi lowered his head with a gloomy face. What's wrong? Obviously I have found a way to fuse chakra, and the previous fusion process was very smooth, but why is it? I can't go to Kekkei Genkai. As for the Master of Kaden fire-style ninjutsu, I have received a lot of ninjutsu from the Uchiha clan in the past 6 months, so I can definitely be considered a grandmaster. Doden earth-style ninjutsu is the foundation of my practice for several years, and I can't be more familiar with it. The fusion of two chakras should not lead to failure. Gongyi raised his head suddenly, his eyes were bloodshot. The war between Sunagakure and Konoha has ended for more than half a year. During this time, except for the occasional collaborative research with Orochimaru, most of his time was spent on the research topic of Kekkei Genkai. Progress is advancing by leaps and bounds. However, when it comes to this most critical step, it cannot be crossed. Gong Yi took a deep breath and forced himself to calm down. Can't be messed up. I must be calm. Kekkei Genkai itself is a high-level energy that transcends ordinary chakra and forms a qualitative change. I started counting from the angle of the heart, but it only took 2.5 years, and it is normal to fail. Gong Yi stood up and walked out of the secret room. Moved his hands slightly, took off his clothes, and jumped into the swimming pool in the backyard. The icy cool water soaked his face, calming him down gradually. Problems after some studies failed, also gradually emerged. Maybe I should try to simulate the Kekkei Genkai who merged with others. No matter what Orochimaru said it, or my own opinion, I believe that what I created is the strongest. I can't give up now. Gong Yi is actually very curious. The birth of Kekkei Genkai is extremely difficult. He spent 2 or 3 years, without success. In the original book, there are some ninjas who created Kekkei Genkai, and how did they do it? Bakuden, explosion style, ninja of Iwagakure village. Kagura, his Kekkei Genkai is not inherited. 5 generations of Mizukage, Terumi Mei, mastered the 2 Kekkei Genkai of Yoden, lava style, and Futen, vapor style, at a young age. If Futen, vapor style, may have been studied from King Wuwei, but Yoden, lava style, is different. Yoden, lava style, from the beginning to the end, only Terumi Mei can use it. It can never be hereditary, but should be researched by herself. According to the time, Terumi Mei should be as old as herself by now. If the plot is correct, she has at least mastered a Kekkei Genkai by now. How she did it? Gong Yi squinted, letting the water drop on his cheeks. Is this the so-called talent? Just like Namikaze Minato can master Hiraishin, no matter how you learn it, you can't get started. Terumi Mei can easily create her own Kekkei Genkai. Gong Yi no. Believe in talent, but don't believe in fate. If he believed, he wouldn't be able to get to where he is today. Hey, little Gong Yi, what are you thinking about with that gloomy look on your face? A familiar voice came from his ear. Gong Yi looked over helplessly. Tsunade, sensei, I beg you, next time you go to the main entrance, ring the doorbell, okay? I'm taking a bath now, and you've seen me clean. Tsunade snorted, so what if you look clean? You're still a kid. Besides, it's not like I didn't watch it when I healed you. Oh. Gong Yi snorted, stood up directly from the pool, and walked slowly to the side to get dressed. Tsunade stared at Gong Yi in astonishment. His eyes were huge under the boy's crotch, motionless. But then, she threw a shuriken over. Hey, you're going to kill. Gong Yi hurriedly ran to the side and looked at the lily sword in shock. That thing was running down his crotch. Tsunade turned his back and cursed with yuhi all over his face. You boy haven't put on your clothes yet. Okay, don't be shy. Ha ha. Gong Yi laughed and put on his clothes slowly, but the inside was still empty. I've already said that I'm not a child, but you don't believe me, teacher. Human little devil is big. Gong Yi murmured, I am afraid it's a small tortoise. But he didn't dare to say it too loudly, otherwise Tsunade would definitely turn his back on him and beat him up. The teacher suddenly asked me for something. Tsunade stared at Gong Yi angrily, not knowing whether it was because of what happened just now or what he was going to ask next. I ask you, have you been close to Orochimaru recently? Chapter 129. Terrifying experiment. Anything, no matter. No matter how secretive you do it, there will always be clues that exist. Some people are smart, they will choose to let clues to mislead others, so as to hide themselves. And some people are dismissive and still go their own way. The cooperation between Orochimaru and Danzo has lasted for many years, and 3 generations of Hokage have noticed it. Although it is not clear what they are doing, the 3 generations do not want to involve Gong Yi. During this time, 3 generations passed through Anbu in the village and found that Gong Yi often met with Orochimaru. As one of the war heroes of a new generation of villagers, Sandai wants to get Gongyi out of the way. So he found Tsunade and asked Tsunade to remind Gongyi. Facing Tsunade's angry question, Gongyi's smile gradually disappeared. Tsunade frowned. If you don't answer, it's just the default. Gongyi nodded. I don't want to lie to you. Tsunade was slightly moved, but he continued to ask, what are you doing getting so close to him? Gongyi thought about it for a while, then said sincerely, improve your strength. He didn't lie. Practice ninjutsu is to improve strength. Doing research is also to improve strength. Tsunade wondered, aren't you strong now? The 8 inner gates can open to the 6th gate, created the Rasengan, and mastered the advanced Doden, Earth-style, ninjutsu given to you by 3 generations of old men, and my medical ninjutsu. Is that enough? Gongyi asked abruptly. Wait, Tsunade replied, he said lightly, even if I learned this, but when I came back from the battlefield, you saw it. Still seriously injured and nearly dead. So, I need 320 to get stronger. Tsunade was stunned. She thought of some of the things that the 3 generations had told her. Gongyi wanted to worship 3 generations of Hokage as his teacher, but was rejected. Wanted to worship Jiraiya as a teacher, but was rejected. Even though he taught him medical ninjutsu, he didn't improve his strength much, and he was indeed a bit perfunctory. In the end, Tsunade thought of the heart in the back room of Gongyi's house. I have come this way, and few people have directed my practice. Tsunade-sensei, you are very kind to me, but you have never taught me anything other than medical ninjutsu. I don't blame you, but I can't stop my steps. Master Orochimaru was reluctant to accept me as a disciple before, but after contacting me on the battlefield, he admired me very much. He is now willing to instruct me on my ninjutsu practice, and he even puts aside the books in his home for me to watch. This is an opportunity. I can't give up. Tsunade-sensei, do you understand? Gongyi looked at Tsunade seriously. He hid some words, but what he said was never a lie. I don't want to drag my severely injured body back next time I go to the battlefield. Don't even want to die on the battlefield, so that I can't even see you one last time. The fact is that simple. Calmly speaking, it came slowly from the young man's mouth. A few drops of water slowly fell from his black hair and hit the ground with a firm speed, just like his determination. Tsunade listened in a daze, and for a moment, his heart was full of mixed feelings. It turns out that it was so difficult for Gongyi to become stronger. Behind his achievements, he has seized opportunities and spelled it out again and again. Tsunade would like to say that you are still a child, working so hard. There are people in the village stronger than you to protect everyone. But she couldn't say it. The boy's black pupils were full of uncontrollable determination. Tsunade-sensei, is there anything else? I have to go out. Tsunade shook his head and walked out a little sadly. She didn't know why she was so lost. Maybe from the beginning, I should accept my son and try my best to teach him what I know. Why did he easily hand over the slug's psychic contract to Shizune, but was unwilling to give Gongyi a further chance? Tsunade stopped and looked at the boy who was almost taller than himself. Be careful when you live outside the village. The village is not safe recently, and some ninjas have started to disappear. Well, thank you teacher for your concern, I will pay attention. When Tsunade left, Gongyi also packed up and prepared to go out. Standing at the gate, staring at the territory that belongs to him, Gongyi raised his brows slightly. Ninjas near village are missing. Could it be Orochimaru? Gongyi doesn't have to have this kind of suspicion, because in the original book, the fuse of Orochimaru's defection was. He caught the ninjas in the village for human body research, and was discovered by 3 generations. But it's not right. I have also studied with Orochimaru for the past 6 months, and there are no Konoha ninjas in his laboratory. Gongyi didn't walk with a solution. There were puppets guarded by him within the territory of the palace. He is not worried that he will be easily touched by the enemy. After walking for a while, Gongyi stopped suddenly. Just like my puppets are scattered around, Orochimaru's laboratory is also countless. Usually when I'm not studying with him, I'm cultivating, so what about him? Gong Yi suddenly woke up. Maybe Orochimaru was carrying on his back and was still doing other ninjutsu research. If there is a Konoha ninja in it, it is only natural that Orochimaru would not let himself know. After all, he is called the Konoha duo, so he has the idea of devoting to the village. Gong Yi breathed a sigh of relief. If it was true as he had guessed, then he and Orochimaru had only established a partnership for half a year. Maybe it will stop soon. This is not good news. The cooperation with Orochimaru has been used a lot, but I have indeed gained a lot of benefits. If it weren't for Orochimaru's open supply of books, and occasional personal instruction, research on Kekkei Genkai will not proceed so quickly. When Gong Yi came to Orochimaru's house again and entered the laboratory, Orochimaru's busy figure appeared in front of him. Gong Yi is here. Well, are you going to continue your last job today? Orochimaru stopped what he was saying and shook his head. No, today we conduct another study. Juvenile transplantation of Hashirama cells. Gong Yi's body trembled slightly, and then he noticed that behind Orochimaru, there were more than a dozen cages. In each cage, there are about 5 or 6 years old children. Orochimaru licked his tongue, his eyes glowing with excitement. You've proposed 3 ways to fuse Hashirama cells before, the second and the third, none of which are possible. For the first one, you and I have been working together for so long, but we haven't developed a suitable inhibitor. But I found in my research that there is another way, which may be able to fuse Hashirama cells. Gong Yi swallowed. Could this be the beginning of Yamato's transplant of Hashirama cells in the original book? Then in the cage behind Orochimaru, which one is Yamato? Without hesitation. But the death of the experiment question was due to the phagocytosis of the cells by the Hashirama cells. So is there a possibility that we allow Hashirama cells to engulf the cells of the subject, and let Hashirama cells flood the subject's body? Gong Yi hurriedly interrupted Orochimaru. Lord Orochimaru, you must understand this truth. Hashirama cells are too powerful, if they swallow all the cells of the test subject. The experimental subjects can't stand Hashirama cells either. Orochimaru glanced at Gong Yi and didn't object. But he said excitedly, if it's a young child has a strong ability to absorb anything. Just like teaching students in school, they know nothing, but under the teaching, they can quickly accept, learn and absorb and grow. We inject extremely weak Hashirama cells into young experimental subjects, and their bodies without any chakra flow have the possibility of absorption and fusion. Although Hashirama cells are too powerful, even a little bit in juveniles is hard to bear. But as long as one survives, then we won't be successful. Gong Yi took a deep breath. Have you ever thought about the lives of these children, their parents, their future? Ha ha. Orochimaru suddenly laughed wildly, then looked at Gong Yi with interest. Why, Gong Yi-kun, who dissected so many living people with me, suddenly became charitable and hypocritical. Chapter 130, Psychic Contract. Gong Yi looked at the children behind Orochimaru who had passed out unconsciously and shook his head. No, I'm neither kind nor kind, as Orochimaru-sama should see clearly. I just can't bear it, because I also grew up gradually from their age. Orochimaru put away his smile, and his face turned gloomy again. I can understand your thoughts, but you should know more about who these children are. They are all war orphans from other villages. No parents, no family, no one wants to adopt them. Not even food to survive. If they hadn't come to me, more than half of these children would have died. About the future. I'm experimenting with people who are about to die. If they can provide me with a little research value, then it will be an honor for them. Gong Yi was silent. Orochimaru's words were not a true portrayal of himself. He was also a war orphan and was lucky enough to be adopted by Konoha. But even if he is adopted, in the future, he should be sent to the battlefield as cannon fodder. Of the shackles of fate and became a little stronger. But it is only a little stronger, and there are too many people who are stronger than myself. Forget it. I already knew you would have this reaction. Orochimaru suddenly waved his hand in a moody manner, and it doesn't seem surprising that Gong Yi's attitude today. After all, no matter what kind of adult way of thinking do you have, and you're still just an 11-year-old boy. Now Gong Yi, with the passage of time, has turned 11 years old. Gong Yi lowered his head slightly. Sorry, Lord Orochimaru, I let you down. Orochimaru did not get angry, but pointed at the children. Go and do your thing. Oh, forgot to say. Before you came, I actually implanted them with Hashirama cells. Gong Yi was stunned and looked at the children. No wonder they all fell into a coma. Since you can't bear to let these children die, then use your first Konoha medical ninjutsu to help them live. Orochimaru lowered his head and stopped looking at Gong Yi. These things were already what he expected. Gong Yi stood there, silent for a long time, wondering what he was thinking. After a long while, he took a step and walked in front of those children. Through the dim light, he seemed to be able to see his own shadow on these young faces. Weak, helpless, and controlled. Even now, he is still a weapon in the hands of 3 generations, a pawn fooled by Orochimaru. Master's hand was tight, and the mind that had been slack in the first moment became incomparably strong at this moment. At one time I was an orphan unnoticed, but later, I became a hero admired by thousands of people. Slowly, with qualifications, become a sharp weapon in the hands of others. And next, what you have to do is to decide the direction of the weapon. No, I have to control other people and let them be in my hands. Let go of the hand, it doesn't need too much force. As soon as I squat down, put my hand in slowly, and touch a sleeping child. It's just that before the chakra influx, the phagocytosis and fusion of the cells were probed, Gong Yi just pursed his mouth. Orochimaru had a child, died. Orochimaru glanced back and said regretfully, that's a pity, he didn't get through even an hour. Tone is indifferent, the only regret is not for life. It seemed that he was just regretting that he didn't live a few more minutes, and let him observe and observe. Gong Yi was a little angry, but didn't say anything, except that the next check and treatment was much faster. One after another, 15 in total. Among them, 3 3s died and 4 44s were unstable. Gong Yi stepped in to help them stabilize their lives. The other 8 8s have intact life characteristics, and even a faint powerful aura appears. Of the 12 children who survived, the 8 8s that emit a powerful breath, the Hashirama cells in the body, have devoured 1/5 of them. When Orochimaru got the observation report, he exclaimed with delight. I really didn't go the wrong way. Among these 8 people, as long as one survives, my conjecture has been verified. Of course, next, you need Gong Yi to check on them regularly. If someone were to die, you probably wouldn't stand idly by. Gong Yi didn't say anything, his attitude was a little colder than before. Perhaps when he was called Orochimaru instead of Lord Orochimaru, Gong Yi's remaining respect for Orochimaru disappeared. Orochimaru didn't care, and was still doing his own research. Gong Yi glanced at the cell tissue under the microscope, and suddenly said, Orochimaru, I need 10 Hashirama cells. Orochimaru raised his head and looked at Gong Yi in surprise. Gong Yi took a deep breath. You have your guesses, and I have mine too. Instead of putting all hope in your path, let me do a one-sided study too. Perhaps, I will find out the fusion method of Hashirama cells earlier than you. Orochimaru's brows gradually wrinkled, and from time to time he lowered his head to look at the Hashirama cells he was studying, and from time to time looked up at Gong Yi. After a long time, he turned away silently. Gong Yi stayed where he was, quietly waiting for his return. Within minutes, Orochimaru came out. He put a glass container on the laboratory bench. Here are 20 Hashirama cells, enough for a month of research. Done, come find me again. Glass container, under the green culture medium, there is a group of small white cells. The so-called Hashirama cells are preserved by the large amount of nutrients supplied by the culture medium. Gong Yi picked up the Hashirama cell, turned around and walked out. Orochimaru stopped him, and a huge scroll suddenly appeared on the experiment table. Since you have the intention to conduct independent research, the exchange of research results is a very necessary thing. Now in the village, it seems that someone has noticed your contact with me. For research confidentiality. Sign it. Gong Yi looked at the scroll, and immediately his heart was hot. Not some kind of guarantee, or some kind of letter that gives people a clue. That's a psychic scroll. Once you sign it, you can communicate with and summon the 3 most powerful psychic beasts in the world. Ryachi Cave, a tribe of snakes. Gong Yi did not hesitate, cut his palm, and stamped a palm print on the scroll. 99 Playmates find 99 Novel Network. Chapter 131. Kekkei Genkei, Become. Hiss, hiss, hiss. Under the blazing sun, Gong Yi smiled as he looked at the 3 little snakes hovering in front of him. Go, you usually watch when I'm not at home. If outsiders enter, notify me directly. The 3 little snakes spit out the snake letter, then escaped from the sun and got into the dark corner. Puppet technique is still a dead thing in the end, the distance is far away, and it cannot be controlled at all. Gong Yi doesn't want to see again, like Tsunade who sneaked into his own secret room. The sealing technique is a guarantee, the puppet is another guarantee, and the little snake that is psyched out forms 3 guarantees. He did not spend a lot of chakra to summon a huge and powerful snake, but chose a small snake that consumes a very small amount of chakra. This way, it can last for a long time. Gong Yi spread out his hands and looked at the psychic seal that was gradually disappearing, his face uncertain. After a while, he shook his head. Orochimaru is getting more and more crazy, I can't be too close to him. Otherwise, the 3 generations will be annoyed, and Konoha village will not be able to stay. Konoha village at the moment, for Gong Yi, is still very useful. 3220. Not to mention the group of medical ninjas he cultivated, just for the system. Yuhi-colored task, he must stay in the village. Of course, he could also escape from Konoha, find a remote and uninhabited corner, and hide. Case, it can survive the 3 wars. But in this way, the task evaluation may be reduced to the lowest level, which is what Gong Yi does not want to see. But Orochimaru is becoming more and more extreme character. For me, it is also good. Like this psychic technique. This is what Gong Yi gets. Orochimaru is actually a very generous person, or a person who doesn't care about details. In the original book, he once asked Sasuke to leave a blood contract on the psychic contract of the snake family. And as Gong Yi, who was trusted by Orochimaru earlier than the 2 of them, after working together for half a year, he also got a psychic contract from the Serpent Clan. With Spiritism, I have the qualifications to go to Ryachi Cave and learn sage art. But now is not the time, this matter has to be moved back. The power of sage art, Gong Yi certainly knows. Naruto relies on sage art against pain 6 paths. Senju Hashirama uses sage art and Mokuten, wood style, Susanoo and Kyubi, 9 tails, against Uchiha Madara. And even, he can rely on sage art to deal with brothers Sasuke and Itachi. In terms of energy level, sage art should be on the same level as Kekkei Genkei. However, with sage art, the ninja will become more and more energetic, not more tired, so the power of sage art is stronger than the general Kekkei Genkei. Of course, sage art also has a disadvantage, that is, the time limit of use. 6 paths sage art is not taken into account, this thing belongs to the hook. Gong Yi doesn't. The main reason for learning sage art in a hurry is that he knows a prerequisite for learning sage art of chakra in order to learn and use them. Otherwise, they will be instantly swallowed up by massive amounts of natural energy. In the original book, there are only 2 people who can use sage art perfectly. Senju Hashirama, Uzumaki Naruto. These 2 people, with the amount of chakra, are definitely the top of the ninja world. People who barely learn sage art, such as Jiraiya, Namikaze Minato, and even Snake sage art included, they are not perfect. Jiraiya uses sage art and needs 2 frogs to absorb the natural energy for him. Namikaze Minato is even worse. He has learned sage art, but he doesn't dare to use it at ordinary times. Compared with the others, his chakra is too little. I have grown a tail for myself. In Gong Yi's opinion, this is definitely not perfect. Gong Yi's chakra content is already a lot. After all, his physical energy and mental energy are huge enough to create a lot of chakra. But compared to Uzumaki Naruto's arms, Senju Hashirama Master Sage body, it is far from enough to see. Therefore, Gong Yi had no plans at all for a short period of time. He wants to learn, and he must learn the most perfect and powerful sage art at the most suitable time. Looking at the scorching sun, the rainstorm may come soon. Gong Yi entered the room and came to the secret room with peace of mind. The Hashirama cells are there, split up and have at least 20 copies. Enough for 1 month of research. The basic experimental equipment, Gong Yi has, as early as in the research corner, when it was all hearts, he prepared it. Getting started again at this moment is also very simple. However, when he was preparing to study, Gong Yi suddenly had a flash in his mind. Those who have transplanted Hashirama cells seem to use Mokuden wood style. Yamato, Uchiha Madara, and even that guy Danzo was killed by Mokuden wood style. Other words, Hashirama cells contain the genetic factors of Kekkei Genkei, and they are extremely powerful. I have the simulation mysticism that Sasori of the Red Sand is working on, so can I simulate Mokuden wood style? By simulating Mokuden wood style, maybe I'll be able to figure out how to create my own Kekkei Genkei. Taking a deep breath, suppressing the joy in his heart, Gong Yi gradually calmed down. Kekkei Genkei this way, he has failed too many times. No matter what. Seeing that, with so much hope of success, he wouldn't let himself lose his composure. Out a portion of Hashirama cells, Gong Yi slowly infiltrated the spiritual power. Not only that, but also simulated the spiritual power into a similar existence to the cells. At this moment, the trace of his simulated mental power, coupled with the cells that originally belonged to the original Hokage Senju Hashirama, was close to the original himself. With this, Gong Yi slowly squeezed the remaining body energy in the cells, and the simulated mental power, fusion. The birth of chakra. A slightly crystal clear green light appeared in front of the boy's eyes, and that flickering moment reflected Gong Yi's excitement. Kekkei Genkei, chakra of Mokuden wood style nature. It really succeeded. Kai, that little chakra, as the energy of the cells is exhausted, slowly disappears into the air. Gong Yi is not disappointed. After all, a cell contains too little energy, it is normal to be unable to resist. Contrary, he is now extremely excited. It really did work, and Sasori of the Red Sand is just a genius of his. A true genius. It's better to use Kekkei Genkei to study Kekkei Genkei than to use it to manipulate human puppets. This is the real usage. At the moment when I just simulated the Mokuden wood style chakra, I vaguely touched the threshold of Kekkei Genkei. As long as I come back a few times, I will definitely be able to step through this door. Gong Yi was trembling all over, unable to control himself with excitement. Countless failures, once embarked on a wrong path, walked into a crooked road. Fusion has also failed, chakra lost control, injured his hands, and the rejuvenation technique has been used for an unknown number of times. He has failed enough. People say failure is the mother of success, and sure enough, success is coming soon. This time, he was very sure of the way Kekkei Genkei should go. But before that, he had to experiment. Take out another Hashirama cell, and according to the previous process, Gongyi fuses the simulated spiritual energy with the body energy that comes with the cell into chakra. Facing the green light this time, Gongyi observed it very carefully and realized it. The huge spiritual power is concentrated on it. Sigh. The chakra dissipates. Gongyi no. Hurry up and continue to repeat this process. This cycle goes on, each time with care and concentration. From noon, to late night, to dawn. 20 Hashirama cells that could have been used for a month, Gongyi used it up in just one night. However, it was all worth it. When the fog cleared and the morning light illuminated the earth, Gongyi stretched out his hands again. And this time, he did not condense a lot of chakra. Use the most familiar one-handed hand seal method, left and right, 1. 6 both hands, middle finger, and index finger are close together, and a trace of chakra silk thread, which is too thin to be thinner, is guided out. The two threads gradually approached and then began to twist in a spiral. Just like a chain in modern biological knowledge, it presents the same level and is arranged in the same position. This tangled chakra thread has such a copy information, retains memory, and can be inherited in general. Kekkei Genkei's bloodline heritability is complete. The silk thread is getting longer and longer, and the winding degree is getting tighter and tighter, until it forms a complete double helix chain. The earthy chakra's dark yellow color has disappeared. The fire chakra's radiant color has disappeared. Instead, it is the brilliant golden color that has appeared countless times, but has been annihilated countless times. Kekkei Genkei. Complete. Ha ha ha. I made it. I finally made it. Ha 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 ha. In the basement room, the joyful and excited laughter of the teenager never stopped. Golden chakra on his fingertips did not dissipate like Mokudan, wood-style chakra, but bloomed for a long time. Chapter 132. You perform again. Gongyi, how is Hashirama cell research going? Sorry, no research results yet. Hearing Gongyi's answer, Orochimaru is not surprised. This is the real result. I have been researching for so many years without results. Gongyi has only been researching for a month. If there are results, it will be doubtful. A month has passed, and the number of collaborative research between the two has become less and less. Gongyi just comes over from time to time to take care of the children who have been implanted with Hashirama cells. Most of the time, he came over without seeing Orochimaru. 4. Orochimaru has other labs outside the village. Gongyi is more and more confirmed. It's been a month. How are those children now? Orochimaru asked. Gongyi said dully, 3 more 3s died, and there are only 9 people left. That's not very good, Gongyi, you doctor, you are incompetent. Orochimaru sneered slightly. He admired Gongyi, but sneered at the kindness shown by Gongyi. Gongyi ignored his sarcasm. He had tried his best to save the children. However, the powerful phagocytic and exclusivity of Hashirama cells cannot be resisted by just a few medical ninjutsu. Forget it. If you die, you will die. Orochimaru waved his hands casually, as if he didn't care about the situation. Gongyi suddenly thought that in the original book, there were dozens of experimental subjects from the same batch as Yamato. Even before them, Orochimaru had conducted corresponding research on Hashirama cell implantation. Words. Orochimaru may also have a large number of children's experimental subjects in other laboratories. Controlling his breathing, Gongyi didn't question Orochimaru. There are some things he can't do right now. But just give himself a little more time, really, just a little more time, and he can do it. Orochimaru, this time, I need 50 Hashirama cells. Orochimaru frowned. 50 copies, why do you want so much? Based on your research progress, 20 copies a month is enough. Don't you forget that you only wanted 10 at first. Gongyi didn't answer him directly, but picked up a Hashirama cell that was being studied on the lab bench. Orochimaru looked at him puzzled. Trace of spiritual power penetrated into the cell, and before being rejected, Gongyi simulated it into a spiritual power similar to that in the cell's memory by using a secret technique of simulation. Use mental power to mobilize the remaining body energy of the cells, and the two merge. A gleaming green light appeared in the air. Orochimaru suddenly widened his eyes. This is... The green glow is fleeting. Gongyi clapped his hands and said lightly, Mokuden, wood-style chakra. Orochimaru took a deep breath and placed another serving of Hashirama cells on Gongyi's face. Before you act again. Gongyi did not refuse, and directly reproduced the previous operation. Orochimaru was still in shock. Immediately, he looked at Gongyi angrily, you haven't researched what you said yet. Gongyi shook his head, I really didn't research anything, like the situation just now, I just discovered it by accident. I don't know the exact reason. Hearing this explanation, Orochimaru looked at him suspiciously. How to do it? Mental strength and the remaining physical energy of cells, form chakra. Entering the ninja school, the lessons the teacher taught on the first day, it's that simple. Orochimaru's eyes rolled quickly, and the next batch of Hashirama cells was carried out according to Gongyi's operation. However, his spiritual energy poured into the cells, because of the powerful exclusivity of Hashirama cells, it was expelled. Orochimaru stepped up and then only heard S sound. Cells exploded and lost their activity in an instant. Gongyi looked at this scene and laughed inwardly. Without the simulation secret technique of Sasori of the Red Sand, how could it be possible to merge Mokuden, wood-style chakra? Orochimaru didn't look very good, so he tried several times, and the results were all the same. Gongyi suspiciously, could it be this person's spiritual power? What's special about it? Gongyi spread out his hand, so that's why I want 50 Hashirama cells. Consumption is too fast for me to study the principle. Only with more experiments, I can sort out the principle and share it with you. Orochimaru nodded silently. Then, like the last time, he entered the laboratory inside. When he came out, 100 Hashirama cells. After the research results are obtained, they will be sent to me by the communication snake as soon as possible. No problem. When Gongyi came out again, he had to lament Orochimaru's generosity. For valuable people, Orochimaru is always like this, don't begrudge resources to cultivate. Sasuke's future strength is improving so fast, so should be the case. Gongyi glanced back, that gloomy mansion. Under the mansion, there is an underground laboratory. The feeling there is really not very wonderful. Gongyi shook his head, and on the tip of his right finger, a golden light shone brightly. Soon. Right now, I will not be afraid of Orochimaru, or even any cage-level powerhouse. On the way home, Gongyi passed by the Hyuga clan's clan. Some people were busy running in and out. He glanced curiously, but found two Hyuga Hazashi. No, it should be Hyuga Hazashi and Hyuga Hiyashi, these two brothers. Hazashi also found Gongyi and walked over with a smile. What is this doing? Gongyi pointed at those busy Hyuga people. Hyuga Hazashi smiled slightly, I'm getting married, and everyone is helping me prepare for the wedding. Is Gongyi free then? I want to invite you to my wedding. Gongyi was stunned for a while, then said with a smile on his face, there will definitely be time, as long as you send me an invitation, I will definitely come. The invitation has already been prepared, and I plan to send it to you in 2 days. Hazashi laughed, then pointed at Gongyi and said, you are not too young, you can find a girlfriend, don't delay. Gongyi was stunned, I'm only 11 years old. What kind of girlfriend are you looking for? Hazashi was even more surprised than him. Isn't it normal to find a girlfriend at the age of 11 or 12 in the major shinobi villages? Only then did Gongyi realize that the ninja's physical development was faster than he knew. Like the beginning of the original story, Sakura and Ino are crazy about Sasuke, and their hearts are sprouting. Sasuke was 15 and 15 years old. Karen was so excited when he saw him. He had to clamp his legs. of marriage for ninjas is 16. Naruto and Hinata married when they were only 18 or 19. From this point of view, finding a girlfriend at the age of 11 or 12 seems completely reasonable. The middle 4 years are the period of love. Gong Yi suddenly remembered that in ancient China, in some dynasties, there was a custom of taking concubines and marrying wives when men were 12 years old. 3. It seems that Hazashi is really not joking when he said this. Hazashi patted him on the shoulder. Look at you, I'll be taller in no time. Village, so many girls worship you, it's time to find one, don't pick and choose. Gong Yi grinned. How could this be the same as an elder urging marriage? He waved his hand, said goodbye, and Gong Yi went home. Now, he has no intention of looking for a woman. Kekkei Genkei, more attractive to him than women. The golden light reappeared, and Gong Yi looked at this sharp, hard chakra with fascination. The fusion of fire and earth chakra has the characteristics of blood genetics. I didn't expect that it would look like this when it was born. This is a brand new Kekkei Genkei that has never appeared in the ninja world, only I can master it. Let me come and give you a name. Well, what's it called? Gong Yi was in trouble. He was named, but he had no talent. But then, his eyes lit up. Golden Escape. Hokage World, the basic chakra has wind, thunder, water, fire and earth, and the first generation created Mokuden, wood style. That is to say, only one golden escape is needed, and the gold, wood, water, fire, and earth are all gathered together. And the properties of this chakra are almost identical to those of metals. Sharp, hard, fast, but also soft and deformable. It's called Jin Dun. Confirming the name, Gong Yi was in a great mood. The first generation uses the fusion of water and soil chakra to form Mokuden, wood-style Kekkei Genkei, thereby establishing Konoha and confirming the status of the god of ninjas. I, Gong Yi, fuse with fire-earth chakra today to form Kekkei Genkei. The future, all directions will be wiped out, and the world of ninja will be crushed. Chapter 133. After Gong Yi met Hyuga Hazashi, the next day, he received an invitation from Hazashi himself. Today's Gong Yi is known as the existence of the two heroes of Konoha. In the village, he is loved by people, and it is even heard that Mr. Tsunade had the intention to resign as the director of the Konoha hospital and let Gong Yi take over. Words, but someone heard Tsunade say to Hokage-sama. If Tsunade resigns in the future and Gong Yi takes over, then Gong Yi's status will increase by 10%. It is precisely because of this that Hazashi attaches so much importance to Gong Yi, and there are other high-level members of the Hyuga family who want to come here. Half a month later, Hyuga branch elders, Hyuga Hazashi got married. Guests from all over the world were invited. Gong Yi was also invited, and was greeted by the Hyuga tribe early and entered the Hyuga tribe. He only found out when he arrived. Who were invited were all distinguished. Nara Shikaku, the new leader of the Nara clan, Akamichi Choza of the Akamichi clan, and Yamanaka Inoichi of the Yamanaka clan. New generation of Ino Shikacho is also the new head of the three major families. The other Inazuka and Aburame families are also present. In addition, Lord Hokage sent his eldest son Sarutobi Aster as a gift of gravity. This wedding banquet has become a stage for the Hyuga family to show favor to all the Konoha families. Except Uchiha. Gong Yi sits in a very prestigious position, above everyone. But it is said to be reserved for Tsunade. Tsunade is not only one of the Sanin, but also the director of the Konoha hospital, and even the only member of the Senju clan, so he can be called the patriarch. She has such an honorable position, and it makes perfect sense. But Tsunade didn't arrive. Gong Yi was considered her half of her disciple, and she was more likely to take over the Konoha hospital. Arranged Gong Yi to sit here, no one else has any opinion. Looking at the people present, Gong Yi doesn't sigh secretly. The Hyuga family is really ambitious and has the ambition to compete with Uchiha for the largest family in Konoha. From the wedding of Hyuga Hazashi, so many people can be invited. If Hyuga Hiyashi got married, wouldn't Hokage be present, and the daimyo of the Land of Fire would send congratulations. The wedding process started gradually. Under the cherry tree, Hyuga Hizashi dressed in a strict kimono, like a graceful kunzi, waiting for his bride. No matter what. From the split family or from main clan, at this moment, I sincerely wish him well. Outside Konoha village, 3 figures hurried towards the village. The leader is a very calm young man. Behind him, a teenager with a watermelon head shouted, "Captain! Captain Kionzong, why are you running so fast?" Quote. Hyuga Kionzong glanced back at Might Guy. "Elder Hizashi's wedding is about to start. He usually takes care of me a lot. I must give my gifts and blessings at his wedding." Might Guy glanced at the girl who fell far behind and said anxiously, "But Kaiwei, she can't keep up." Hyuga Kionzong would like to say, "If you take your time, I will go back first," but thinking that the previous captains never abandoned their traditions, he had to slow down. Hyuga Chizong, a former member of the Palace Squad. 14, he began to perform tasks with Gong Yi. Later, Gong Yi became the captain, and he was still one of the team members. Following the war with Sunagakur, some young ninjas who performed well on their missions were promoted. Like Asuma, Uchiha Obito, Nohara Rin are all Chunin. After Hyuga, who became Chunin early, arrived at Jonin, he was qualified to lead the team independently. Happens that Gong Yi has made a great contribution. If not, he will not have to perform the task for a year or two. So Gong Yi simply handed over the Gong squad to Hyuga Kionzong. Several original members of the palace team, Asuma, have joined other groups under the arrangement of Hokage. Hyuga Kionzong only had Might Guy as a member at the time. Later, Gong Yi took the lead and asked his disciple Aburame Kaiwei from the Aburame clan to fill the team. 3 teams of 3 people, some are good at reconnaissance, some are good at taijutsu, and some are good at medical ninjutsu. The configuration is very complete. In this way, the 3 of them began to accept the task, carry out the task, and did it very well. Might Guy even passed the Chunin assessment and became an excellent Chunin. Hyuga Kionzong stopped, and after a while, Aburame Kaiwei ran up panting. "Captain, Guy, you run too fast, I can't keep up." Might Guy scratched his head. "This is no way, Captain and I are both good at physique." "Kaiwei, aren't you a disciple of teacher Gong Yi? He is so strong in physical skills, why don't you learn a little bit?" Aburame Kaiwei said weakly, "Mr. Gong Yi usually doesn't see others, and occasionally guides me in medical ninjutsu. How do I learn gymnastics? And I, the Aburame clan, are not good at." "Shish." Hyuga Kionzong raised his finger and put it to his mouth, signaling the 2 not to speak. He took a deep breath and turned on Byakugan directly. The hazy and hideous Byakugan appeared, and Hyuga Kionzong was already looking back. Aburame Kaiwei watched this scene curiously. Every time the captain used Byakugan, it was so strange. Could it be that all the Hyuga clan are like this? But in an instant, she realized that Hyuga Kionzong's complexion changed. Hyuga Kionzong turned back suddenly. "Run!" Both Might Guy and Aburame Kaiwei were stunned, until they were pulled by Hyuga Kionzong, and the 2 ran quickly. While running, Might Guy asked anxiously, "What's the matter, Captain?" Hyuga Kionzong was trembling all over. "Don't worry about it, run to Konoha with all your might." 2 team members saw this. They could only do their best. They all trust Hyuga Kionzong. Although this captain doesn't talk much and is even very withdrawn, he will always try his best to protect them when performing tasks. I heard that the original captain is not like this. It seems that his old captain died 2 in a row, and even his best brother, Ogawara, died in the mission. That's how he became 3 people. Hyuga Kionzong is 16 years old, Might Guy is 12 years old, and Aburame Kaiwei is 11 years old. It is just like the age of the flower season, but when it is close to the village, it runs wildly. Perhaps it was because they spent too much energy in order to rush back to the village. When she was about to see the huge wall of the village, Aburame Kaiwei couldn't run at all. Hyuga Kionzong bit Kiba and carried Aburame Kaiwei on her back. "Captain, what's the matter?" Might Guy asked in a panic. He had never seen Hyuga Kionzong. He would show such an expression, as if there were tailed beasts chasing him. Hyuga Kionzong bit Kiba. "Guy, set off a flare. Notify the village, there is an enemy." Might Guy froze for a moment, then hurriedly ran and took out the flare. Bang! The signal bomb shot up into the sky, but before it exploded, it was cut into pieces by a slender knife directly in the jungle, without any signal. Swish! The thin and sharp long knife was pulled back by a steel wire. A man with yellow hair and white face, squatting on the tree, looked down at Hyuga Kionzong and the three of them. "If it's just this person, that's fine." But as the figures swayed among the trees, 6 more people appeared in an instant. Swish, 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 swish. Okay, 7 people with strange shapes, 7 knives that flashed with coldness, suddenly appeared on the surrounding trees. Almost let these 3 little devils run away. It's still Kushimaru's knife fast. HMPH, my thunder knife Kiba is not slow either. Stop the ink, this kid actually has Byakugan, no wonder he found us. Kill them, then infiltrate Konoha village and kill Hokage. After this battle, that guy Mizukage doesn't dare to point fingers at us. Hehe, I actually value the bounty of the 3rd generation Hokage in the underground black market more. If there is a chance, I would also like to know. Who is it that is willing to pay such a high price for only 1 head? The 7 people 7 were talking like no one else around, but the 3 Konoha ninjas at their feet didn't dare to move. Intense murderous intent completely enveloped the 3 of Hyuga Thousand Sects 3. Nearby, there was the strange man with yellow hair and white face from before, mainly with long knives, and countless sharp wire supports under the cloth. It seems that as long as they move, Hyuga Thousand Sects and the others will be cut into pieces. Hyuga Kionzong bit Kiba and looked at these 7 people. Ninja sword 7 people 7 people. Chapter 134. The blood-colored steam that fills the sky. 7 ninja swordsmen, 7 powers, the kingdom of water, and the 7 powers of Kurigakure village. Each one is far more powerful than ordinary jonin. Even among them, there are people who are close to cage-level powerhouses. Hyuga Kionzong looked at these 7 people, and he was aloof and didn't take the 3 of them seriously. Looking back at Aburame Kaiwei's pale cheeks, and Might Guy's stubborn and unyielding face, Hyuga Kionzong forced his body to stop trembling. He is the captain, he needs to calm down. Fighting is inevitable. It is impossible for all 3 to escape. Reminiscing about the past. Kionzong, run. That was the last word the first captain left to himself. Kakashi, run with Chizen and Hara. Don't look back. That was the entrustment of the second captain with blood on his face. First of all, I want to remind you that you should call me captain, not an adult. Secondly, for the village, the mission is indeed the supreme criterion. But in the process of carrying out the task, I will definitely do my best to protect everyone's safety. Of course, you can't support me, and you must work hard to complete the assigned things. These are the words of the 3rd captain, Iga Kawaji, who introduced himself with a stiff but polite smile. And in the end, Captain Iga, at the cost of a broken arm, took the team back to the village. It was also in that mission, in the rainy night, that his companion, the 4th captain later, Gong Yi calmly assigned the escape route. Kionzong, Yuan, you 2 don't run away, find a hidden place to hide, and do everything possible to cover up. 1 day later, no, 5 days later at 320 and quietly return to the village. After saying that, Captain Gong Yi fled to another route. Half a month later, Captain Gong Yi returned to the village. That battle, Captain Gong Yi, as Genin, desperately killed the Jonin squad, the guard commander of the 3 generations of Keizukage in Sunagakur village, Kazama Hiroshi. In an instant, Hyuga Kionzong closed his eyes. This scene, in the eyes of the 7 people, is like knowing the fate and willing to wait for death. However, when Hyuga Kionzong opened his eyes, there was no more fear in them. Now, I'm the captain, it's my turn. Byakugan. Hyuga Kionzong swept back and found a way in an instant with Byakugan's powerful insight among the countless wires. A life that may hurt but not kill. Put Aburame Kaiwei on Guy's back, then reach out with one hand and grab Guy's clothes. Hyuga Kionzong used all his strength, and threw him out in Might Guy's astonishment, and in the sneering ridicule of the yellow-haired, white-faced man. Guy, Kaiwei, live. Kuriarer Kushimaru, the owner of the long knife sewing needle, sneered when he saw it. However, the next scene was completely beyond his expectations. That boy with ridiculous watermelon hair actually escaped with a girl on his back. From the dense wire mesh, escaped. Bastard. Can't let they run. Kuriarer Kushimaru, Kurosuke Rai Kiba, you two go and kill them. Hyuga Kionzong turned his head and looked at the 7 people 7 with a sullen face, and a strong and unparalleled chakra burst out all over his body. Don't even think about going there. His legs sank, his right palm was facing the 7 people in front of him, and he waved 7 palms frantically. 8 trigrams vacuum palm, court to die. I'm going to gouge out your disgusting eyes. The screams of anger continued to sound, and the 3 ninja knives suddenly moved. Might Guy ran away frantically with Aburame Kaiwei on his back, and behind him, there was a violent roar. It only lasted for a short time. 2 fast ninjas caught up. Long knife and needle, thunder knife Kiba. When you see these 2 people, you don't need to guess, you know what will happen to your captain. Might Guy's eyes pass through Yuhi, Kaiwei. 8 doors open. Open the door. Shut the door. Live the door. Injury door. Might Guy bit Kiba. The 5th door, Duman. Open. A large amount of green energy poured out, accompanied by countless scattered blood. Might Guy stepped out. The ground trembled and the air vibrated. Then Might Guy kicked fiercely, and his body was like a cannonball, rushing out with power beyond the speed of sound. Seeing this, Kurosuke Lei Kiba couldn't help but be surprised. It's too fast, the speed of this kid. And I always feel like, where have I seen this scene? Kuriarer Kushimaru gave a weird laugh. What's the use of hurrying, even, Hachi has already laid a trap ahead. Munashi Jinpachi, the owner of the blaster. He and Kuriarer Kushimaru are collectively known as the Ruthless Duo, and they like to brutally kill enemies the most. Guy, run this way. Teacher Gong Yi's house is over there. Might Guy did not speak, bit Kiba and ran towards the palace leader. With his current strength of opening the 5th gate, he has no problem dealing with ordinary Jonin, but there are 7 famous Kurigakure powerhouses behind him. He always remembered what Captain Kionzong said just now. Live, not only yourself, but Kaiwei too. However, just as she stepped into the palace, a violent explosion sounded from the ground. Might Guy flew out upside down, bleeding from the corner of his mouth. Aburame Kaiwei was also bleeding from the shock, got up from the ground, and supported Might Guy in fear and worry. Guy, are you alright? Might Guy wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, and couldn't help but smile miserably when he saw the 7 people of ninja swordsmen who were gradually surrounding him. Captain Kionzong, I'm afraid I won't be able to fulfill your entrustment. He turned his face and grabbed Aburame Kaiwei. I'll open the 6th gate later, hold these people down, and run to the village with all your strength. Aburame Kaiwei burst into tears. She cried, but the teacher told me that you can't open the 5th door until you are 15 years old and 15 years old. You open the 5th door now, and you will open the 6th door, and you will die immediately. Might Guy forced a smile. That's because Captain Gong Yi underestimated me, I'm a genius. Just when the 7 ninja swordsmen were about to be surrounded, Guy was about to open the 6th door to create an escape space for Aburame Kaiwei. In a green tights fell from the sky and directly blocked them. Guy, as expected of my son. Might Guy froze. Father. But then, he said anxiously, Father, please leave quickly, there are 7 people with 7 ninja swords on the opposite side. Father, just a genin. How can he protect himself and Kai Wei against the 7 powerful Jonin on the opposite side? It should be him to protect them. However, Might Dai pulled him behind him, turned back to reveal his big white Kiba teeth, and smiled confidently. Guy, today, I'll let you know. Konoha village, who is the best person in the 8 inner gates? This is the result of my decades of practice, you should take a good look. When Might Guy wondered, Might Dai laughed. Laughter, this man who made people laugh all the time. His feet stomped heavily on the solid ground, his hands were clenched, and he roared up to the sky. The 8 inner gates, open. Open. Break. Life. Injury. Do. Scene. Shock. Death. The formation of the 8 inner gates. Boom. Everyone stood there, stunned watching this scene. Gong Yi was chatting with Aburame Jiwei with a smile, and they were talking about Aburame Kaiwei. In terms of blood relationship, Aburame Kaiwei is Aburame Jiwei's cousin. Kaiwei, she's very talented, even though she's still just a genin. Pop! A cup suddenly fell to the ground. It was the head of the Hyuga clan sitting at the top, Hyuga Hiyashi. Gong Yi's expression changed slightly, but his expression changed suddenly, and he rushed out of the hall without saying a word. The speed at which it left was too fast, and a gust of wind even overturned the table in the hall. The countless guests present looked at each other in dismay. Hyuga Hiyashi took a deep breath and looked into the distance. Hyuga Hazashi looked over in confusion. Is there such a powerful existence in Konoha? Brother, do you need me to take a look? You don't have to go, today is your big day. I can go alone. It's too dangerous, big brother, take 2 clansmen. No, it's dangerous for the clan to go. During the conversation between the two, there were already quite a few strong men who sensed the monstrous weather coming from outside the village. Their faces changed drastically, and they rushed out. When Hyuga Hiyashi stepped out of the gate, he could clearly see the blood-colored steam rushing into the sky. It was as if the whole sky was dyed with yuhi. Hyuga Hiyashi made no sound. Byakugan opened, and subconsciously glanced at the Hokage building. This strong man is stronger than the 3 generations of Hokage at the peak of my impression. Who would he be? Sarutobi Hiruzen was smoking a cigarette, but when the blood-colored steam filled the sky, his bong was involuntarily lowered. Standing in front of the window, Sarutobi Hiruzen suddenly squeezed his hands. Blood steam, the formation of the 8 inner gates. Could it be Gong Yi? Chapter 135. I will bring back his eyes. Countless strong men in Konoha village all turned their attention to this place. Such a powerful force, even more terrifying than cage-level powerhouses. At the root of Konoha, Danzo rushed out like a storm, looking over there with trembling all over. There are still strong people in the village that I don't know about. It's so terrifying, even stronger than the 2nd generation Lord Hokage. After a while, his expression darkened. I had to get Orochimaru to study Hashirama cells faster. Only by getting Hashirama cells can I recover from my injury and become stronger. In the land of the Uchiha clan, Fugaku, who had taken over as the head of the Uchiha clan, looked at the direction of the leader of the palace in cold sweat. This power goes far beyond the 3 Tomo Sharingan of our Uchiha clan. In front of it, I have no room to resist. Mangekyo, Mangekyo, I want Mangekyo. On another mountain several kilometers away from the village, a boulder moved slowly. Orochimaru came out. Raised his head, squinted his eyes, and looked at the bloody yuhi-colored sky. But then, he shook his head and returned to the mountainside laboratory. The brilliance that bloomed in an instant is too short. ... Just when the eyes of all parties gathered, Gong Yi, who was the first to leave, arrived at the scene at an extremely fast speed. What I saw was astounding. Thousands of ravines, bottomless holes, and huge boulders were thrown up, not to mention the fallen forests. As if it had been ravaged by several head-tailed beasts, the earth was in a mess. "Captain, save my father!" A shrill cry came from the clearing. Gong Yi hurried over and found that his former team member Might Guy was squatting weakly on the ground. In front of him, there was a corpse that seemed to be scorched. Aburame Kaiwei squatted aside and tried her best to release medical ninjutsu. But no matter how much chakra pours in, it can no longer stimulate cell activity. Gong Yi took a deep breath and walked over. Might Guy, the man who has been ridiculed all his life for nothing, in his last lesson, proved to his son how amazing his father really was. It made Might Guy see the most powerful appearance of the 8 inner gates. As he said, in the whole village, the 8 inner gates cultivated the best, not Gong Yi, but him, Might Guy. Gong Yi just felt it for a moment, and then shook his head calmly. "Sorry, Guy, your father has long since died." Hearing this, Might Guy sat on the ground dumbfounded, as if he couldn't believe it. Gong Yi doesn't. Leave him alone and look around. Just a few hundred meters away, there were 3 corpses lying side by side, and in another place, a corpse had been blasted to pieces except for its head. Our 7 members of the ninja swordsmen, 4 of them were removed today. There are 3 others left. Aburame Kaiwei suddenly shouted, "Teacher, go and save the captain of Qianzong. He was in the woods behind after he broke up for us just now." Gong Yi's face changed. His color changed drastically, his right foot stomped on the ground, and Might Guy burst out at a faster speed than before. After a few breaths, Gong Yi came to the place where they scattered and fled. A body in a white robe was lying there, and blood was constantly flowing from his body, forming a huge yui flower on the white robe. Gong Yi controlled his emotions and went. "Not dead yet, still breathing. Is it, Captain? Ahem. Palm Sage Art." Gong Yi didn't say much, and immediately started to treat Hyuga Qianzong, and then chakra entered the body, his heart froze. "Body, there are 5 serious injuries, each of which is fatal. There is no chance of being rescued." Hyuga Qianzong blinked his eyelids, as if he wanted to open his eyes and take a look at Gong Yi. He succeeded, but when he opened his eyes, it was pitch black. His eyes were gouged out. Gong Yi pursed his lips, like a volcano about to erupt, but it was firmly suppressed. "Qianzong, I'm here." Hyuga Qianzong grinned and asked tremblingly, "Guy, Kaiwei. It's all right, just live well." Okay, Captain, help me hand this to Elder Hazashi. Gift, sorry, The forest was silent and silent. The leaves were stepped on, and Hyuga Hiyashi's figure appeared in front of me. "Bastard, who dares to insult my Hyuga people like this?" Hyuga Hiyashi Byakugan opened his eyes wide and frantically looked around. At this time, he was still young and vigorous, and when he saw his clan, his eyes were gouged out, and he was seriously injured and died. An instant, he became angry. Gong Yi stood up slowly, held Hyuga Qianzong's body, and walked to Hyuga Hiyashi's side. "Qianzong is a member of your family, I will hand over the body to you. This is the gift he wants to give to Elder Hazashi, and you also help me pass it on." Hyuga Hiyashi didn't dislike the blood-stained Qianzong corpse, took it over, but just looked at Gong Yi with some doubts. He also heard just now that his own clansman asked Gong Yi to personally deliver the gift to Hyuga Hazashi. Gong Yi turned around and looked into the distance with deep eyes. "I will go and find Qianzong's eyes. 7 people with 7 ninja swords. I want to remove all of you. I want the land of water, and Kurigakure village will give me an explanation." The words fell. Gong Yi slapped the ground hard. The art of psychicism. A giant purple snake spiraled out. Just as it was about to roar, Gong Yi stomped on its head. "Find me the direction of those people." The giant purple snake hissed twice in grievance, and then spit out a snake letter to collect relevant information in the surrounding woodland. The bifurcated snake letter has the natural ability to collect information, and can also distinguish the location of the enemy through the smell particles. The purple giant snake is the leader of the snake clan, and its ability in this regard is particularly powerful, not even inferior to the ninja dog clan. In just a moment, it found its way. The three of you are all escaping to the same place. Gong Yi licked his lips and stepped directly on the ground. The powerful recoil force made him rush out of this dense forest in an instant. Hyuga Hiyashi watched Gong Yi leave uncertainly, and after a few breaths, shook his head. He's not a kid anymore, I can't stop him. It's just that the enemy is so powerful, and even when fighting, such terrifying energy fluctuations erupt, and I don't know if he can deal with it. Chizong, who is no longer breathing, Hyuga Hiyashi bit Kiba. Everyone is plotting the Byakugan of my Hyuga clan. Once a pair was lost, and now a pair has been poached, and it can't go on like this again. As the patriarch, I have to solve this problem. When he carried the corpse of Hyuga Kionzong and returned to the outer edge of the palace, a group of strong Konoha gathered here came over one after another. Chief Hyuga, this is. The ninja of my clan died for his comrades. Nara Shikaku glanced at it and her expression changed slightly. This is Gong Yi's former subordinate. I remember he was 16 years old. Jonin, his future is boundless, it's a pity. Aburame clan next to him, Aburame Jawei came over. Nodding to the two of them, he said straightly, it's the 7 ninja swordsmen, and I don't know why they approached Konoha. Humph. Hyuga Hiyashi's face was gloomy, and he was actually a ninja from the land of water. The last time the Hyuga clan lost their eyes, they were also the Kurigakure ninjas of the land of water. Now, they have hit the house. Shikaku suddenly asked, where is Gong Yi? Chapter 136. Kurosuke lay Kiba, dead. Waves, the country of fire and the country of water, a small buffer country. When Gong Yi set foot on the land, a man with a knife with a barb stopped him. I was suspicious before. That watermelon-headed boy's physical skills seemed familiar, so I saw you used it before. Gong Yi looked at Kurosuke lay Kiba coldly, as if the opposite was a corpse. Hyuga Kionzong's eyes are here with you. Kurosuke Rai Kiba tilted his head and thought, you mean that kid? I'm not interested in his eyes. However, you don't seem to be very afraid of me. A dying man, I have nothing to fear. Gong Yi snorted coldly, the 6 doors opened instantly, and without saying a word, he directly attacked. He caught up, not just to win back his eyes. These people, right under his nose, killed their subordinates. Kill all the remaining 3 of the ninja swords, so as to comfort the spirit of the 1,000 sects. In addition, Gong Yi has always had a puzzle, and he needs to find the answer here. Kurosuke lay Kiba's pupils shrank. Gong Yi's speed is much faster than he imagined. But he is not afraid. In might, 107 inches. When Dai exploded, he was not in front of him. Therefore, he did not suffer any injuries, which is why he had the confidence to intercept and kill the pursuers in the country of waves. Hand seal with both hands, countless mists, diffused out. The technique of Kurigakure. This technique can be said to be the powerhouse of the village of Kurigakure, and most of them can effectively conceal themselves and assassinate their opponents. Fog enveloped the surroundings, and Kurosuke Rai Kiba grinned. I'd like to see what kind of skills you, who is as famous as Yellow Flash, have. Just the next moment, he couldn't smile anymore. A figure suddenly appeared beside him, so close, almost face to face. A transparent Rasengan hit him fiercely. Bang! He knocked Kurosuke lay Kiba upside down and flew out. The powerful spinning force even punched a small hole in his abdomen. PFF'd, how could you find me so soon? Gong Yi walked slowly, not thinking of killing him directly. People with 7 ninja swords, and the strength is high and low. Stronger than ordinary Jonin, but it is so strong that it is close to the strength of a cage-level powerhouse. It is precisely because of this that Might Guy will not hesitate to open the formation of the 8 inner gates. He opened 7 doors at the time, and at most he could deal with 2 of the strong ones, and the remaining 5 were 5, and he could still kill Might Guy and Aburame Kaiwei. In that battle, those who survived were also the strong. For example, Kurosuke Rai Kiba, who was once under the command of Namikaze Minato, came to life. But that, just Namikaze Minato before, and Gongyi is no longer the Gongyi he used to be. Looking down at Kurosuke Rai Kiba who fell to the ground, Gongyi asked coldly, "Tell me, why are you approaching Konoha village? Don't tell me it's to hunt down my 3 subordinates, they are not worth the 7 of you. 7 team up." This question, in fact, Gongyi is extremely puzzled in the original plot. 7 people of ninja swordsmen are well known, of which the 7 people and 7 are not monolithic, and there are even internal contradictions. But 7 of them got together and got close to Konoha, just to kill Might Guy and a few genins. Chunin said they had no plans, absolutely impossible. Kurosuke Rai Kiba clutched his stomach and looked at Gongyi viciously. He was careless. If he hadn't been confident that Kurigakure could cover himself, he would never have been injured so easily. This man, there should be some way to confuse him. Hearing Gongyi's question, he laughed. "Why should I tell you? Don't say." Gongyi frowned. It's hard to pry open their mouths when ninjas don't want to say. This is also the reason why he had clearly caught Kai in the first place, yet he had to make a deal with the other party. Seeing that there is no answer from here, Gongyi is no longer confused. Then die. Kurosuke Rai Kiba went backwards madly. Never let Gongyi and him get closer, this is the best way to deal with the strong taijutsu. While retreating, he endured the injury and swung the thunder sword to the ground. Thunder Burial Thunder Banquet. Countless chakras are poured into the ground through the thunder knife Kiba, and then dense blue-white lightning spreads from the ground. As long as it touches, at least the body will be paralyzed. This is more than that. Raiden Thunder Style Thunder Snake. Chakra, which is far bigger than the previous ninjutsu, is attached to the thunder knife Kiba, and countless thick thunders fall from the sky. Like snakes circling, bombarding Gongyi in front of him at super fast speed. At this moment, Kurosuke Rai Kiba's strength has surpassed most of the elite Jonin. However, Gongyi did not change his face at all, and pointed forward with one hand. Brilliant golden light emerged, and immediately formed a very fine kunai. Go! Faster than Raiden Thunder Style traversing the endless thunder, and in the eyes of Kurosuke Rai Kiba in disbelief, it pierced his throat in an instant. Thunder in the sky, lightning on the ground, and the clouds disappeared. Gongyi walked slowly to his side, lowered his head, and looked at Kurosuke Rai Kiba, who was unwilling to die. Kiba, the thunder knife on the ground, and cut it lightly. Big head rolled to the ground. A snake emerged from the ground and shrank back slightly in fear. Swallow him. 2 more heads. After Gongyi finished speaking, he walked towards the land of waves again. It's ridiculous that you have to flee and think that you are safe when you return to the land of water. Gongyi, today is the land of hard water, making a lot of trouble in Kurigakure village, and I will cut off your heads. Biwa Juzo, next, you how to go. Tsukazan Fuguki stood in the middle of a group of people, and asked the man on the opposite side with a little embarrassment. Biwa Juzo frowned, looked back subconsciously, and then shook his head. I will sneak back to the village. In this battle, you all took advantage of the timing of your respective missions to sneak out. I also carry out the mission through Anbu and get together with you. Now that the plot has failed, I have to go back to the village, otherwise Mizukage will not be able to explain Zero. Tsukazan Fuguki sneered, you seem to be seriously injured after you go back. Don't let the little devil in the village take the beheading sword for the challenge. Humph. Biwa Juzo snorted coldly, you better be careful with yourself. There is a guy in the back who is chasing after him. It seems that Kurosuke Rai Kiba is dead. Tsukazan Fuguki also frowned at the mention of the guy behind. He suddenly suggested, how about we join forces and kill him? The ghost shark is also here, he can help. A man with a shark face stood up confidently beside him. Lord Juzo, isn't that the little devil known as the Dark Blue Devil? The three of us joined forces to kill him easily. Biwa Juzo was slightly moved, but after looking at the rest of Fuguki's squad, he shook his head. The inheritance method of the 7 people of the ninja sword is very bloody. Kill the previous owner, no matter what. What method did you use to kill? As long as it succeeds, you will be the next master of the 7 ninja swords. He now has more than 1 ninja sword in his hand. Bombarded to kill 444 companions by the terrifying man from Konoha before. He was worried that he would be besieged by the strong Konoha, so he could only escape with 4 ninja knives. Today, the 4 ninja swords, plus his own beheading sword, are a piece of fragrant fat for Kurigakure ninjas. He himself was seriously injured, if he lost to the dark blue demon behind him. Kurigakure village is about to lose a total of 5 ninja swords. Under various considerations, Biwa Juzo categorically refused. No, I have to go back to the village first. I have to find a new owner for the ninja swords Kuriare Kushimaru and the others left behind. As for the dark blue demon man, I will find an opportunity to kill him in the future. Sukazan Fuguki waved his hands regretfully. Okay, you go first. My squad still has a mission. Iwagakure village is really annoying to ignore the threats from Kumogakure and Konoha 1. 2. Attack our village. Biwa Juzo turned to leave, and soon disappeared into the thick fog. Kisame Hoshigaki looked at his embarrassed appearance, and pouted in disdain. Sukazan Fuguki didn't say much. Let's go. Enter the realm of the water country. There is a thick fog covering, and the guy from Konoha can't find us. Go on the mission first, and when the information comes in, I'll kill him. Yes, Captain Fuguki. 4-person team of 4 slowly walked into the mist. It's just that they never found out that a few kilometers behind them, the man they called the Dark Blue Devil was moving firmly in one direction. It was not affected by the fog at all. A small snake emerged from the ground. Gongyi stopped and felt the message from the small snake. After a long while, he pondered slightly. It's divided into 2 directions. One is heading towards Kurigakure village, and the other is heading towards the place where Iwagakure village and Kurigakure village rubbed and fought. Go kill the latter first. This side is closer. Making a decision, Gongyi did not hesitate to speed up in one direction. 7 remaining ninja swordsmen. The entire ninja world was already surging. Chapter 137. Panic Sukazan Fuguki. Okay, the information is in hand, we withdraw. Lord Fuguki, why don't we kill this squad? Sukazan Fuguki glared at Kisame Hoshigaki and said in a low voice, you know what, in front of you is the blasting force from Iwagakure village. The captain inside, named Hunter, has Kekkei Genkei Bakuden, explosion style. His strength cannot be underestimated. Also, our team's mission is to obtain information, just bring the information back. Kisame Hoshigaki lowered his head, but the corners of his mouth were very disdainful. My own boss, greedy for life and fear of death, never dared to do things that were unsure. 7 ninja swordsmen gathered to go to Konoha for a big event. However, after returning, the 4 masters of the 44 ninja swords died in battle. Biwa Juzo was seriously injured, and Kurosuke Lake Kiba was left behind. Sukazan Fuguki was alone. Nothing happened, and he didn't get hurt at all. Fearing that it was against the enemy, he shrank back again. But in the end, this team is Fuguki's team, and no one dares to resist his orders. 444 Kurigakure ninjas quickly disappeared from the battlefield, and then proceeded along the river towards the village of Kurigakure. There is a road in the middle, which is the fastest way to go back. Thick fog filled the air, and a wooden bridge was built on both sides of the river. Sukazan Fuguki, with a large sword on his back, walked in the middle of the team. As long as you cross this river, you will enter the land of water. On the other side of the river, there are 2 Kurigakure ninja squads guarding around the clock, preventing Iwagakure raids. It's not dangerous to come here. Sukazan Fubuki smiled, although most of the 7 people of Ninja Sword died tragically, but he survived. After returning, his status in the village will definitely be improved. But when he stepped onto the wooden bridge, the smile on the corner of his mouth slowly disappeared. The smell of blood. The strong smell of blood is constantly emitting from the other side of the river. In the thick fog, a young man walked out indifferently. Sukazan Fubuki. Kill him. Fubuki shouted loudly, and without saying a word, ordered the team to surround and kill the enemy. This is the so-called Dark Blue Devil, an existence that is as famous as Yellow Flash. He must first understand the enemy master's ninjutsu before he can make a move. Just let your team members go to the bottom. The art of psychics. Boom. 3 purple giant snakes came out of nowhere, one in the mouth of the snake, and the dense fog was blown away. Gong Yi looked indifferently at the 3 ninjas rushing over and waved his hand. Kill them. 3 giant snakes circled up, and they fought with the enemy 3 people in an instant. With the strength of the giant snake, he quickly killed 2 people with ease. There was a man who killed a giant snake abruptly, rushed through the encirclement, and slammed towards Gong Yi. Sweden water style water shark bomb jutsu. A huge shark, roaring towards the young man in front. Gong Yi raised his head and looked at the blurred blue shark under the sky, with his 2 fingers together. An instant, a black spear emerged from the void, and then hit the blue shark with a preemptive momentum. Wear it from start to finish, and run towards Kisame Hoshigaki. Seeing the oncoming black spear, the ghost shark did not retreat but advanced, his right hand was blue and barked, and he directly grabbed the spear. Shish. The breeze blows, the chakra that forms the spear, the play disappears. Contrary, the aura of the ghost shark was a bit stronger. Gong Yi frowned slightly, looked at the man with the shark hole, and spit out a sentence. Kisame Hoshigaki. I didn't expect the famous Dark Blue Devil to be a character. Ghost Shark laughed, and then said madly, I think you are nothing more than that. You can actually frighten Biwajuzo and flee back to the village. But is that so? The corners of Gong Yi's mouth rose, and information about the ghost sharks flowed through his mind, and he rushed out like a gust of wind. This time, instead of using ninjutsu, he actually fought with taijutsu. Ghost Shark is not afraid at all, and the face is a water prison technique. The surging water prison traps Gong Yi, who is rushing towards it, and absorbs the enemy's chakra all the time. However, after only a moment of obstruction, a golden light flashed, and Gong Yi had already rushed out. The 8 inner gates are open. The 6th gate. Morning Peacock. Yeah. A high-pitched cry, in the unbelievable eyes of the ghost shark, bombarded him fiercely. Gong Yi kicked his left leg horizontally, knocking the ghost shark several dozen meters away. Gong Yi shook his head. This is not the ghost shark 20 years later. Although his strength is already very strong, he can only withstand the attack of his own opening 6 doors. The ghost shark who was lying on the ground not knowing whether to live or die, Gong Yi looked at Sukazan Fubuki on the bridge. The other party had the illusion of trembling. Not an illusion, Sukazan Fubuki is really shaking and scared. You actually mastered the same physical skills as that man. Gong Yi walked towards him in a hurry. You mean the 8 inner gates? I don't mind, I'll let you meet again today. Fubuki shook his head suddenly. He was a strong man who had been famous for many years, and his will was not so weak. He looked at Gong Yi coldly. Before that man broke out, he once said that it was the result of his decades of practice. At your age, there is absolutely no way to accumulate that much. Speaking of which, he smirked instead. Very good. In order to prevent you from growing to that point, I will kill you today. Gong Yi shook his head. It seems that you have no confidence in yourself. If I improve, you will also improve. You are afraid of my future. It only shows that you are not enough confidence. Well, let me ask you something first. Of my subordinates here with you, You mean that pair of Byakugan? Fubuki said with a disdainful smile. I'm enough to have a big sword, so why not Byakugan? Come on, boy. The words fell, he held a knife in both hands, jumped off the bridge, and slashed Gong Yi across the sky. When Gong Yi's hand moved, a small snake suddenly appeared, opened its mouth and spit, with a long sword in hand. Compared with using the ninja tool to seal the scroll, it is still faster. With the long sword in hand, Gong Yi used 4 or 2 strokes of 1,000 jins to slash the strangely thorny sword. Kang! Swords clashed, making a piercing roar. Sukazan Fubuki was abruptly pushed aside. What a terrifying power! It's just... Gong Yi frowned and looked at his sword, but most of it was cut off. The end, they are the 7 ninja swords that are famous in the ninja world. Except, the family ninja swords of the Hitaki family and the famous swords of the Iron Country, there are really not many weapons that can be sharper than these 7 knives. Even the least hard beheading sword has the strange power of blood-sucking recovery. Gong Yi threw away the long sword and probed with one hand. A long knife with a barb appeared in his hand. Thunder Blade Kiba. Fubuki's pupils shrank. Kurosuke Lake Kiba really died in your hands. Don't be sad, you will go down to accompany him soon. Gong Yi said lightly, his figure leapt out like a thunderstorm, and in the 6-door state, he cooperated with melee swordsmanship. He is really not afraid of anyone who is faster than himself. Stronger than himself. Clang, clang, clang. He kept enduring the contact of the knife, making a steel collision sound. Big sword shark muscle can't touch Gong Yi's body at all, and its other chakra-absorbing characteristic is completely unable to play. Instead, Fubuki had countless small wounds on his body. That is to say, Gong Yi is not good at Raiden Thunder style, otherwise he is superimposed on the Thunder Sword Kiba, and he has no fighting ability now. But as long as it continues, he will surely die. Seeing this, Sukazan Fubuki hurriedly used ninjutsu with the help of the big sword shark muscle. Sweden Water Style Raging Waterfall. Under the blessing of the shark muscle, the power of Sweden Water Style ninjutsu reaches the maximum, and the nearby river is also swept away. A huge waterfall rose high, and then turned into a violent wave, bombarded down. Seeing this, Gong Yi didn't panic at all. With one hand and one palm on the ground cracked wildly, and a deep ravine appeared. Doden Earth Style rips the earth and turns his palms. All the huge waves are swallowed into it, and no waves can be lifted. Not only that, Gong Yi is a one-handed hand seal and spit forward very quickly. Kaden Fire Style Majestic Destroyer Flame Great Fire Annihilation. 4 walls of fire appeared in an instant, raging flames evaporated water vapor, and surrounded Sukazan Fubuki. To the speed at which hand seal releases ninjutsu, Gong Yi can now be called the number 1 in the world. The time for the enemy to use one ninjutsu is enough to release 2, 3, 3s, and even simple low-level ninjutsu. 4 or 5, 45. In such a predicament, Fubuki panics. Philo reminds you, 3 things to read, collect, push and watch the latest chapter. Baidu search 99 playmates find 99 novels. Chapter 138. Kill Hokage Liwei. It was too late for Hand Seal to release ninjutsu. Sukazan Fubuki bit Kiba and stabbed himself with the big knife. Don't get me wrong, he certainly wasn't trying to kill himself. Instead, it uses a secret technique that comes with the big sword shark muscle. The art of fusion of shark muscles and human body. The blue light of the sea flashed, and a shark man appeared in the sea of fire. Fubuki grinned, opened his mouth and spit, and a huge amount of water rushed out, directly smashing the wall of fire behind him. Escape. After using the secret, he didn't even attack, he still wanted to escape. After the fusion of the human body and the big sword shark muscle, the ninja will have a powerful chakra swallowing and perception ability. Not only that, but it can also swim sharply in the water, with a speed no less than that of a powerful taijutsu ninja. As long as I escape into the big river in front of me and swim along the river into the sea, the dark blue devil will not be able to chase me. Sukazan Fubuki looked back and saw Gongyi, who was getting farther and farther away from him, feeling relieved. Hurry up, hurry up. It's about to rush into the big river. At that time, it will be. The sea is wide and the fish leaps. Just as he was about to enter the river, he smiled proudly. Little devil, you are still too tender. Already. Oh yeah. Gongyi smiled lightly, sliding his fingers freely. Sigh. With a soft sound, the shark man formed by merging the shark muscle was actually cut into 2 pieces. Golden light flashed away in a flash. Boom! The big sword shark muscle was separated from the human body and swayed weakly on the ground, as if it had life. And Sukazan Fubuki, looking at his body divided into 2 parts, was stunned for a moment, and then he screamed shrilly. Ah, my body! It hurts. It hurts to death. Stop screaming, you, not dead yet. Gongyi walked up to him and looked at him condescendingly. Answer me a few questions, and I may consider helping you repair your body. Sukazan Fubuki's face was pale, his lower body was beside him. Although it has been cut into 2 pieces, but with his special physique, he will not die for a while. Gongyi said lightly, don't doubt my medical ninjutsu. Now in this world, my medical ninjutsu can definitely be ranked in the top 3. Fubuki's face was gloomy, and then he bit Kiba and said, after I answer your question, it will really help me repair my body. What I want is certain, not maybe. Gongyi raised his eyebrows. Okay, me and you. Then you ask. Gongyi asked the same question that Kurosuke had been asked before. The 7 of you are gathered, why are you going to Konoha? Don't tell me it's to attack my subordinates, they don't have the weight yet. Fubuki endured the pain and said, someone has offered a high bounty for the head of the 3rd Hokage, Sarutobi Hiruzen. Bounty amount has reached 500 million. We are so excited that we are going to kill the 3 generations of Hokage. Gongyi was taken aback, the reward of 500 million taels. This is a huge sum of money. Even the war reparations paid to Konoha for Tsunagaku's defeat was only 1 billion taels, and the country of the wind had to pay for it. Who is to pay so much money to ask for 3 generations of Hokage, the head of a ninja who is about to grow old, Iwagakure village Kumogakure, or Tsunagaku village, who is not willing to be defeated? But then, Gongyi shook his head. This reason alone is not enough. Sukazan Fubuki looked at Gongyi, this young man, really smart. He continued, yes, the high bounty is just one of them. After all, the risk of sneaking into Konoha is too great, and we don't want to die for money. People, tell me, a deeper reason. The 7 ninja swordsmen and the 7 groups themselves are an inheritance system determined by the 2nd generation of Mizukage, so as to ensure that there will always be more than 7 top-level powerhouses in Kurigakure village. Speaking of which, Sukazan Fubuki had a nostalgic look in his eyes. Seems that there are 7 people with 7 ninja swords, and they should be in a high-level position in the village of Kurigakure. But then, he had a look of hatred on his face. But the 3rd generation of Mizukage did not inherit the will of the 2nd generation. He believed that the inheritance of the ninja sword was too bloody and would lead to the new generation of strong men in the village killing each other. So he has been suppressing the status of R77. In this way, he wants to declare that Ninja Sword 77 is not an honor, but just an ordinary ninja. I don't want other new generation powerhouses to challenge us and die in our hands. Gongyi frowned slightly, listening to these words. Many of the confusion about the original work gradually became clear. No wonder Kurigakure village has one after another of traitors. What's not to be killed again, what is Kisame Hoshigaki's defection and so on. Was supposed to be the strongest in the village, but he was unwilling to be suppressed, but he couldn't compete with Mizukage, so he had to betray the village. Biwa Juzo is the most powerful man of our generation, and he wants to change that. Killing Konoha's 3 generations of Hokage leeway and establishing our position is the best way. Gongyi snorted, we, Konoha, are the strongest in the 5 ninja villages. How did we get to you? It's the best way to stand up. Fuguki shook his head and explained, Sunagaku's cage is dead, and the newly launched cage has no reputation and will not be able to achieve the effect of standing up. The one from the village of Iwagakure, Onoki, the master was eliminated by blood, and we are not sure that we will survive. The village of Kumogakure is even more out of consideration. So after all the calculations, he is already old, and there is no master Kekkei Genkei's 3 generations of Hokage. It is the best goal, and he is the leader of the strongest ninja village Konoha. Kill him, our position in the village can be greatly improved. It can even make Mizukage fear us. The power of the 7 ninja knives to kill a cage-level powerhouse, there is indeed a chance to do so. Gangyi thinks back to the time when they infiltrated the outskirts of Konoha, which happened to be the marriage of the elders of the Hyuga clan. Many strong people came to congratulate, and the 3rd generation of Hokage happened to be at the weakest defense. After all, he even sent his eldest son. If so, it makes sense. Okay, I have finished answering your questions, hurry up and repair my body. Tsukazan Fuguki was so hurt that he couldn't understand what he could say. He pressed his bleeding waist. Oh, it hurts to death. What did you use to cut Li Jiao and cut off my body? Gangyi interrupted him. One more question. You know I'm after you, why don't you go back to the village? What's the problem? Of course it's the execution of the mission. We gathered together secretly, but we only had the opportunity to take advantage of the mission gap. What mission? Iwagakure over there. PFF'd. A sharp drop of water rose into the sky from his neck. Fuguki's words stopped abruptly. Gangyi squinted slightly to the side, and Kisame Hoshigaki lay there panting. Just now, it was he, secretly using the Suiten water-style ninjutsu, pierced Fuguki's throat from below the surface. Looking at Gangyi's eyes, he smiled miserably. I don't care about ninjas. But for selling out the village's information, he must die. Come on, kill me. I remember the name of the dark blue devil today. Pity that I won't have the opportunity to ask you for advice in the future. Chapter 139. Revenge Snow Hate, 5th more. Gangyi stood there, not speaking. Wind was blowing, and the smell of blood was scattered everywhere. Looking at Fuguki, whose eyes were wide and dead, he suddenly smiled. Actually, if you don't kill him, I'll kill him too. I just promised him to answer my question, and I helped him repair his body, but I didn't say I wouldn't kill him. Kisame Hoshigaki froze. The devil, forget it, since you killed him and he didn't finish answering my question, I won't bother. With a wave of Gangyi's hand, the thunder sword Kiba flashed past. Tsukazan Fuguki rolled his head directly to the ground. A snake emerges and swallows it quickly. Walking to the side of the big sword shark muscle, Gangyi reached for it. However, the shark muscle twisted frantically, as if he was extremely afraid of him. On the body of the sword of the shark muscle, a thin and long notch suddenly appeared. Gangyi used Jindun just now. He not only cut off Fuguki's body, but also cut out the shark muscle. Gangyi frowned and kicked the shark muscle. The shark muscle rolled directly to Kisame Hoshigaki's side. He clapped his hands, looked at the foggy village of Kurigakure, and headed in that direction unhurriedly. Behind him, Kisame Hoshigaki yelled, "Why didn't you kill me?" Gangyi's voice came from the mist, clear and cold. Give you a chance, ask me for advice in the future, and see if you can still take my 3 moves. Kisame Hoshigaki lay on the wet ground with shark-like cheeks, confused and puzzled. 3 tricks. Beast, the black spear ninjutsu, followed by a taijutsu accompanied by birdsong. Chilling, chirping. The big sword shark suddenly stuck out his tongue and licked the ghost shark's face, as if to comfort him. The ghost shark sat up with difficulty, whispering in a low voice. Dark blue devil. ... The land of water has small islands scattered around the cities, and the largest city-state is the capital of the Land of Water. Kurigakure village is located in the east of the Land of Water, with the sea as its back. The water vapor evaporates here all year round, and before the sun comes out, the fog is full. That's how it got its name from the village of Kurigakure. Fourth generation of Mizukage came to power, the blood fog policy was implemented, the village was closed, and outsiders could not enter or leave. If it was then, Gongyi would not be able to enter the village. But right now, it's still the third generation of Mizukage in power. Third generation of Mizukage, there is almost no space in the original book, not even a name. However, after crossing over, Gongyi understood the knowledge of various countries, and also learned a lot of intelligence. There are also many strong people who have not appeared in the original work. For example, he killed Hiroto Kazuma first. There is no such person in the original book, but if you say that the three generations of Kazekage have no guards, this is a joke. The third generation of Mizukage in Kurigakure village is named Tsujido Tsukuri, a rare surname. In Kurigakure village, but when he was young, he made great contributions to building the village as the guard of the first generation of Mizukage White Lotus. Even accompanied by Lien and participated in the first 5 shadow talks in the ninja world. Second generation Mizukage and the second generation Tsuchikage of Iwagakure village perished together. He succeeded the third generation target. This man has a firm personality and is rarely influenced by others, although he inherited most of the policies left by the second generation. But I don't like the inheritance method of the 7 people of the ninja knives, and I don't like the cannibalism of the graduation from the Kurigakure ninja school. Even this year, the graduation assessment method was banned and replaced with a similar, more moderate assessment method. The current Kurigakure village still has business with other large and small countries. As what happened, Gongyi made a slight disguise and entered the village easily. But after he came in, he discovered an interesting thing before the little snake he channeled sent back a message. Karataki Yagura got married today. Gongyi rubbed his chin playfully. In his memory, isn't Yagura a childlike person? He actually got married today and counted the time. It has been a month since he chased and killed 7 people of ninja sword. From the country of fire, across the country of waves, to the country of water. In this way, Biwa Juzo picked a good time to go out to run errands. A month ago, Yagura was planning a wedding, and as the 3 generations of Mizukage who trusted him very much, he would definitely help. In this way, Biwa Juzo can take the opportunity to go out. Alright, you ninja sword 7 people, took advantage of Hyuga Hazashi's wedding and killed my subordinates. Then, today, I will use the way of others to treat their bodies. Gongyi's eyebrows flickered, and he continued to advance along the less and less populated area. In a hidden corner, the Snake Clan has already discovered the aura of Biwa Juzo. 7 people of ninja swords, 7 people, the honorary title set by the second generation Mizukage, is now trampled by the third generation Mizukage. Why isn't it because we fought each other and refused to form a group? Now my master is beheading with a large knife, a long knife and sewing needle, a dull knife kabuto cut, a blasting knife spray, and a double knife flounder. As long as I cultivate 444s, the people who obey my orders completely, let them master these 4 knives. Deter Sukazan Fubuki, who is afraid of death, and Kurosuke Lei Kiba, who is my friend. Ninja Swordsman 7, work together, even Mizukage is no longer a block. By that time, the village of Kurigakure will be controlled by me, Biwa Juzo. The dark room, Biwa Juzo looked at the ninja knives in front of him, and his eyes were filled with something called ambition. The light, suddenly, he frowned. Chakra flashed by in his hand, and a small snake in the corner died directly. Why are there so many snakes in the village recently? I can't kill them all. He murmured, feeling a little weird. But he shook his head, forget it. I have to recover from my injuries as soon as possible, otherwise in the village, there are little guys staring at my beheading sword all the time. Just when he was about to close his eyes and recuperate, the door was suddenly pushed open. Squeak! The wooden door made a harsh sound, and the figure of a young man appeared at the door. Sunlight shone on him, making it difficult to see his face. Biwa Juzo. Who are you and why did you enter my room without permission? Are you courting death? Gong Yi looked at this ugly man, and it was hard to imagine that in the future, after joining Akatsuki, he would partner with Itachi, who is known as Uchiha. It's just a pity that it's no longer imaginable. Because today, he will die. Hand over Byakugan, I will leave you a whole body. Biwa Juzo was stunned for a moment, then his face changed drastically. Saying a word, he picked up the beheading sword, that is, slashed with one sword. Gong Yi was already prepared, and Kiba, the thunder knife, went head to head. Not only that, but the left-handed Rasengan slammed hard. Around him, a golden light pierced through the void, hitting Biwa Juzo's throat. In the village of Kurigakure, we must fight quickly. Gong Yi shot, just want to kill in an instant. Kang! The two ninja swords collided. Biwa Juzo was slightly inferior in strength, and retreated slightly. Rasengan bombarded him directly, and the powerful spinning force tore his body into pieces in an instant. No! Gong Yi frowned and swept away with a powerful mental force, and found that the one killed was actually a water body that only contained half of Biwa Juzo's chakra. Boom! The house shattered, and the real Biwa Juzo rose into the sky. Quick hand seal with both hands, in the air, and slammed hard on the ground. Sweetened water style, great waterfall technique. This is a high-level ninjutsu that is good at Kurigakure Village Powerhouse, and its lethality is huge. And when used, the scene is grand and the momentum is amazing. For a while, in the village of Kurigakure, the strong man who was attending the wedding of Yagura directly noticed the situation here. Gong Yi's face changed slightly, and Kekkei Genkei Jin-dun launched. The golden light circling around him shot up into the sky, and its speed was so fast that it went straight through the huge waterfall and ingested Biwa Juzo's throat. Boom! With a loud noise, Biwa Juzo fell from the sky unwillingly. If it wasn't for the Konoha battle, which seriously injured me, and just spent the last remaining chakra to release water, how could I have been defeated by you? Gong Yi unwillingly, weak, but said this sentence with resentment. Gong Yi snorted coldly, when you killed my subordinates with the power of 7 people, you didn't say anything fair. Long knife slashed, and the head rolled to the ground. Gong Yi crouched down and fumbled quickly on him. Soon, a glass vial appeared in his hand. The misty Byakugan is always so calm and deep when it is not turned on. Looking at those two eyeballs, Gong Yi seemed to be able to recall the appearance of Hyuga Kionzong in front of him. A gradually silent, but kind-hearted young man. Kionzong, the captain can also be regarded as avenging for you. Taking a deep breath, Gong Yi looked forward calmly. Field of vision can reach, there are countless strong men rushing over, among them the leader, the momentum is monstrous. The third generation of Mizukage, Sujitang Yuali. Philo reminds you. Read the 3 things to collect, push the latest chapter Baidu search 99 Playmate find 99 Novel Network. Chapter 140, 3 Generations of Mizukage, Happy National Day. Close black lens bracket. Swish, swish, swish. Figures scattered around, surrounding Gong Yi's location. Tsuji Tanyuki stood at a high place, squinting, or in other words, his eyes never seemed to be open. He looked at Gong Yi with a trace of killing intent, lingering around him. Who are you and why did you kill in my village of Kurigakure? Give me an explanation. Gong Yi picked up Biwa Juzo's head, stood up, and looked at Tsujido Sukari with his back straight. This person is from your Kurigakure village. Tsuji Tanyuki frowned slightly, and beside him, there was already a ninja whispering softly. Lord Juzo. How could Lord Juzo be dead? He is 7 people with 7 ninja swords. Could it be that this is a hidden powerhouse in the village who killed Lord Juzo and took the beheading sword? Hearing these remarks, Gong Yi shook his head in his hands. Looks right, Biwa Juzo, one of the 7 members of the 7 ninja swordsmen in Kurigakure village. Gong Yi sneered as he watched a group of Kurigakure ninjas in shock. This person gathered the other 6 people of ninja sword a month ago. 6. Break me into Konoha, kill me with the power of 7, and then become Jonan's subordinate, and gouge out his eyes cruelly. As soon as this statement came out, everyone was in an uproar. However, before it was their turn to talk, Gong Yi spoke again. My Konoha strongman, Might Dai, sacrificed his life to kill 4. Forced the remaining 3 to escape from Konoha. And I, chasing and killing 3 people for 30 million miles, just for one thing. Avenge my subordinates and take back those eyes. Silence. Silence. Immediately, there was a huge uproar, and countless strong people present couldn't believe it. What are the 7 adults doing together in Konoha? You're lying, Lord Fubuki is clearly on a mission on the battlefield. What a joke, Konoha Might Die. I've never heard of this character. To kill 4 ninja knives with one person's strength, and to force the remaining 3 people back 3 ha ha ha, this is the funniest joke I've ever heard. I am afraid even your Konoha's 3 generations of Hokage can't do this. Let's do it. What kind of person are you? You say it so powerfully. I can tell you how old you are when you hunt for thousands of miles. You are not as old as my son. Put down Lord Juzo's head, you can't insult him like that. No, that knife in your hand. That's the Thunder Blade Kiba. ... Gong Yi remained silent, leaving these people to doubt. Of news spread in the ninja world is very slow. These people are far away from the center of the mainland, and it is normal for them not to know. Just like in the original book, when Sasuke killed Orochimaru, he had to deliberately release the prisoners and let them go out and spread the news. But he knew that the dead head in his hand could effectively explain everything. And in his hand, there is a ninja sword, which can prove most of the facts. A hand slowly rose, and everyone's mouths gradually closed. 3rd generation of Mizukage squinted slightly, stared at his hand for a while, then slowly opened his mouth and asked a repeated question. You, who is it? Gong Yi said lightly, Konoha, Gong Yi. When the words fell, countless ninjas were present, and their faces changed. Almost 7 or 8 months have passed since the battle between Sunagakure and Konoha village. The news is still delayed by them, and there are many details of the war. In that war, Orochimaru's prestige reigned supreme, and there were faint signs of Konoha's next generation of Hokage. Compared to this, the birth of the Konoha duo is the most talked about. The name of the person, the shadow of the tree. Even the 4th generation of Kazekage, who just came to power in Sunagakure village, has been placed under yellow flash several times. The last time, it was almost killed by the dark blue demon. Some small shinobi village has even been released. If you encounter 2 people during the mission, you can give up the mission without being punished. Now that the Dark Blue Devil said that he chased and killed thousands of miles and decapitated 3 people with ninja swords, it seems that it is not so unacceptable. Some people wonder, when the Dark Blue Devil was on the battlefield, it was said that he was only 10 years old, and even in the past 7 or 8 months, he should have been only about 11 years old. The young man in front of him already had the height and shape of an adult. But they didn't know. After practicing the 8 inner gates for a long time, Gong Yi ate a lot and drank a lot, and his height jumped up quite fast. Hearing Gong Yi's answer, Mizukage Sujito Sukuri shook his head. 7 of the 7 ninja knives broke into you Konoha and killed your subordinates. I'll leave it aside for the time being. But even if it is true, it should be the 3rd generation of Hokage to negotiate. Now you break into my Kurigakure village and kill my Anbu member Biwajuzo, but it's another matter. You should give me an explanation. His words came slowly, neither hurriedly nor slowly, but contained strength. Of a village will never fall behind in words. Gong Yi said lightly, what do you want to explain? Hand over the heads of the 3 ninja swords, and the ninja sword in your hand. Tsujido Yuli squinted slightly, and then said, "If you can't do it, I will negotiate with Sarutobi Hiruzen in person. Discuss who is right and who is wrong." Gongyi was silent, and looked at the ninjas around him one by one. Zero. Perhaps because of the recent friction between Iwagakure village and Kurigakure village, the situation has escalated, and there are faint signs of a large-scale war. Many powerhouses and backbones of Kurigakure village have been sent out to carry out missions. Addition to the Jonin knife, 7 people were killed. The people present at the moment, except Tsujitang Yuli, the remaining top powerhouses are not many. The only thing to worry about is the green-haired boy in green clothes standing behind Tsuji Tatsuki. The hook stick decorated with green flowers signifies his identity. Karataki Yagura, a man who looks like a child but is actually no younger than Namikaze Minato. After swiping, Gongyi made a decision in his heart. Take your hands and surrender your life to others, waiting for the judgment boom. The 8 inner gates, open 6 gates in an instant. The green energy body, blinking all over the body. Not only that, in the astonishment of countless people, a golden handle of kunai suddenly floated out of him. No, not one handle. Chang, 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 chang. That one, in a circle, hovered over Gongyi. With the circling momentum, there was a constant buzzing sound. Tsujido Yuli frowned slightly, and the 7 kunai circling and dancing were all condensed from an unknown chakra. What kind of ninjutsu is this? Looks like you're not going to take it easy. Gongyi sneered, Konoha strong, there is no tradition of kneeling to live, only standing to die. Right and wrong, you don't need to ask the 3 generations of Hokage, today, ask me directly. Tsujido Yuli nodded, showing a hint of admiration, but then he waved his hand. Kill him. Yes. A neat answer. Dozens of strong Kurigakure rushed towards Gongyi. Are dozens of people behind, hand seal with both hands, ready to use long-range ninjutsu to kill the Konoha ninja who dared to provoke Kurigakure. Even if he is the man known as the Dark Blue Devil. Karataki Yagura stepped forward slightly and bowed. Mizukage-sama, do you need me to take action? Tsuji Dozuki shook his head. No need, he's a dark blue devil, not yellow flash. Enter my village of Kurigakure, don't even think about going back alive. There are others, that's enough. Happy National Day. I wish you all a smooth and unobstructed trip. Those who sleep at home will not be woken up by the square dance ant, and all those who play games and cards will win. Oh yeah too.